you can either just post what you want to learn in the chat, or you can just go in and open up your mic and we can have a little verbal chat. So the verbal chat's always my preference because it's easier for me. So let's just look what you guys are saying here. Okay, I would love you forever. Awesome, because that's the type of stuff I like to do. I really like to do stuff one time and then from that get someone to love me forever. So we'll definitely do this. I would love it if you could show me how to have someone comment on a post and then for the bot to answer. That is really, really simple. So I'll show you exactly how to do that, how to create a birthday coupon. We'll go ahead and do that for you as well, the above, but also putting it into the ad. Okay, so we'll do all of those things. All right, and then you guys can continuously put more things into that box and we can do those things, or you can unmute your mic. I do mute you guys from time to time when you unmute yourselves, and then I hear your kids screaming in the background, daddy, daddy, mommy, mommy, get off the computer, get me some milk, or I hear your dogs barking, or, you know, your weed eater's going, or your crazy wives or husbands just yelling at you, asking for a sandwich, or, you know, to get off the computer and give them some love or whatever. So I just mute you. But at any time, if you guys want to unmute yourself and have a verbal dialogue, I definitely encourage that, and you're free to do that. If not, then you can just continuously drop stuff down into the box wherever it's at. I don't know where it's at, but wherever it's at, you can drop stuff into the box. So let's go to this guy right here. All right, and this guy right here. I'm going to create a new post. Now, you could technically see what you're wanting to do if you were to just respond to this post right here, because in literally the last training session, actually the first training session, so this is the third one that I've done today, and I do these all day long pretty much for you guys for free, because my position in my job, I run a company, I own a software company, and I'm the CEO of that company. And as any good business person, all the work that I'm actually supposed to do and required to do, I outsource and I hire somebody to do that stuff for me so that I don't actually have to do anything, so that I can give my time to you guys for free all day. So we already created one of these, but let's do another one. Let's just go in and make a comment right here. Not that. Let's go in and make this guy right here. Okay. And then let's go in and do that and add a couple little heart emojis. There we go. Now that's a beautiful post. So there we go. Here is your post that you wanted. Okay. So now we've got our post. That's obviously the first thing that you need is the post. Now, once you have that post, what you're going to do is you're just going to go to your growth tools and you're going to click create a new growth tool. Now, technically, this is how you would start, but let's just deviate from that just for a second, and let's talk a little bit about best practices, okay? So take it from me, don't take it from me, that's completely up to you guys, but I run a software company. I've got 30 engineers that work for me. Now, what we do as a company isn't just build bots, okay? So we do lots of other stuff besides building bots. We build all sorts of different software. Mostly we're employed by other software companies. So mostly other software companies come in and they hire my developers when they have some extra work and they don't actually want to pay another let's say it's on average, it costs about $200,000 in the US to employ a software engineer as a salaried employee. So once you pay their salary, me, when I worked as an engineer before becoming a project manager or before running my own company, I clocked in whenever my last position as a software engineer, I clocked in a little bit over 120K a year. When I first started out, the very first job that I got after graduating college, I made $88,000 a year. Now, on top of that, obviously, I needed some health insurance, some life insurance, some SSI, some unemployment, all those good benefits in the U.S. So to employ me, even at around 88K, the company would have incurred a cost of, let's say, $160,000 a year to employ me. So anyways, let's just skip all that crap about me. And from my perspective, you don't have to listen to me, but from my perspective, anytime you're going to create a flow, which a flow, what we refer to as a flow, is just some sequence of messages, right? Just some conversational dialogue that unfolds beginning at message one. You're going to deliver one message and then go in and deliver a bunch of other messages and have some different routes and stuff that a user can pick some options, et cetera, et cetera. So even whenever you're going to reply to this comment here, even whenever you're going to auto reply to this comment and then deliver a sequence of messages, you're going to essentially have a flow attached to that. So when we build bots, for us, a best practice is we create generic content modulars. All right. So we create these little generic modules that we can reuse over and over and over again. We don't want to build them inside. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go in and actually create this new growth tool. So what you want to do is use a Facebook comments growth tool. And then if you look over here in this opt-in message, and don't worry how fast we're going, we'll go in really slow and go through this. But if you look, they already give you this opt-in message right here. But what in my best practice, what you want to do is by the time you go in and actually create this growth tool, you already want your flow. You already want this opt-in message, this sequence. You already want it created. So first, let's create that message. So we always are going to use some generic descriptive name that is going to tell us what this flow is for. So I'm just going to call this day 6, session 3, Facebook post auto response, because that tells me literally exactly what this piece of content is for. So now I know just by looking exactly what this piece of content was for. If I was going to create some flow to capture somebody's email address and their phone number, I would call that flow capture email and phone number. If I was going to go in and segment my user, they were going to come in and I was going to go in and find out what they're actually interested in. So I know what to market to them about, how often they want me to market. And I was going to go in and do some segmentation stuff. I would call that something like that, consumer segmentation or something like that, so that I know what this flow is, so that now as I'm creating new flows and I want to reference another generic content flow, or I'm using some growth tool or something like that, or I'm creating some auto response to some keyword, when I'm doing that now, my time becomes real optimized and real efficient, because I don't have to spend time creating the flow at that time. I can reuse flows over and over. And then whenever I want to find that guy, I can easily find him. I can do a little search and say, okay, I want to segment this guy. So I can just type in segment, boom, there's the segment guy. So all that said, that's just a best practice. So before I actually create the growth tool, which is what I'm going to do here, which if you didn't see how I did that, I just went into your growth tools and I hit new growth tool. And then I picked the Facebook comments growth tool, which is what you would do. So I'm going to grab this guy. Another best practice here. I'm going to put this guy, I'm going to give this guy a meaningful name. That makes me understand exactly what this guy is for. So now if I need to go in and turn him on or off or modify him, I can easily go in and find this guy and do whatever I need to do. So hopefully you saw exactly how we did that. We just went to growth tools. We clicked add new growth tool. We picked the Facebook comments growth tool because that's what we actually want to use, okay? Now in this growth tool, we are going to be eventually presented where we need to give some opt-in message, some flow. So here we're going to actually create that. Okay, so before we create that, let's first go in and set this up. because at the very end is where it's going to actually ask us, only if we pick one of these options, is it going to ask us for this opt-in sequence. So we can go ahead and actually select this guy with that, and then have it all set up, and then just come back in and easily edit this guy, okay? So let's start from the very beginning. The first thing that we need is that post, which is why we created that post. And if you see, here's that post that we just created. See that guy right there? So I'm going to save this guy because in a minute, I'm going to give you guys the link to this post so that you can go in and comment on it and test it out and see how this is actually working. So there's that post. So I'm just going to select that post because that's the post that we're doing for the demo that we want to auto reply to. So now here's something else that we should really talk about. It's this button right here. We have to click this button. This button says, I confirm that the selected post is explicit, that this page is going to contact users who comment via Messenger. So now I have to click that box. I can't continue unless I don't click that box. See, if I try to go to next and I try to save this and I try to activate this, it's going to tell me, hey, you need to come back and do that step, okay? So I could be lazy and I could just click that step. Now, clicking that step, I'm confirming that I am, in fact, a liar, is literally what I'm doing right now. I'm telling Facebook, don't believe me, don't trust me, because I lie a lot, because I know if I look at my post does not explicitly say that. So if I want to follow best practices and I want to make sure that I abide by Facebook's TOS and they don't kill me or send their goons after me or, you know, disable my bot or disable my page or, you know, ban me from Facebook and deactivate my accounts, any of those things would not be good. I need to go in and edit this, and I'll just say comment anything So now I'm just going to explicitly say this. I'm just going to literally tell you, comment anything below, and I'll send you a message with more info. I expect your love forever because that's what you promised me. You did tell me right there that you will love me forever. So I'm going to hold you to that, Vicky. So I'm going to save this. So now I can go back here, and now I can say that I'm actually conforming to these terms of services. Do you have to do that? No, you don't have to do that. Are you going to get banned if you don't do that? No, probably not, because, I mean, there's 100 million Facebook page. Facebook does not have the manpower to check every single thing. But do you want to take the risk? Well, if you got a new page, not a lot of subscribers, not a lot of activity, haven't spent a lot of ad money promoting your page, who cares? If you got a huge page, no. That's the short answer. No, you don't want to take a risk. So you just go in and explicitly say that you're going to comment that you mentioned something that, hey, comment on this post, I'll send you a message. As long as you do that, you're fine. Or just ignore it and get banned. It doesn't really matter to me. It's your business. It matters to you. So we need to click on that. Now here they tell us, do we want to track first level comments only? So what's the first level comment? This right here is a first level comment. See this? This is a first level comment. See all these comments underneath here that are technically replies, where I could actually even do another reply here. Those are not first level comment. Those are second level comments. So if you have this turned off, and let's say you had this comment tool connected to this particular post right here, everybody here, this guy would have got a reply, this guy would have got a reply, this guy would have got a reply. This guy would not have got a reply because he had already got a reply right there, and they're only going to get a reply once per comment, okay? This guy also would not have got a reply because he already got one. This guy already got one. This guy already got one. This guy would have also got a reply. So here you would have sent out 1, 2, 3, 4 replies automatically to anybody who commented on this. If I go in and turn this off, or turn it on, rather, because it's already off. If I go in and turn this on, what that means is only this guy will get a reply and only this guy will get a reply. No one else will get a reply because these are only the first level comments. So this is completely up to you how you want to do this. My education, my experience, my expertise is in logics, mathematics, software development, not so much in sales and marketing, content curation, stuff like that. So I'm not even going to give you advice on what the best way is to do that. I just always leave it like this. So literally all I ever do on this page myself is the only thing I ever do is click select post and then click this checkbox and just move on to the next. Because in my opinion, and what do I know? I'm an engineer. I'm not a sales or marketer guy. But my opinion, if somebody's contacting you, it's probably best to contact them as quick as possible is what I think. I mean, the quicker you contact them, the more likely you're going to get them to convert. If you wait some time, maybe they done contacted 5 different people and they're going to talk to whoever contacts them first. And whoever contacts them first, if that guy has a good sales pitch and is confident, he's going to actually win that lead and everybody else is going to lose out. But like I said, I don't know anything about that. So I just use this. I never track anything other than I don't ever turn this on. I always just send it to everybody and I always do it immediately. So now this here, this is actually the message that a user is going to get as soon as they comment on your post, or according to these time settings here, and if they meet these conditions, okay? So we could talk about these conditions, exclude comments with these keywords. So if I put in here info, all right? Now, anybody who types in the comment info on my post will not get this message because I'm excluding them. If I do this other one, only trigger for comments with these keywords, and I put info in there, anybody who comments on this post, only the word info or to anybody who comments and their comment contains info, only those people will receive it. No one else will receive it. So that's why I leave those empty, because I want to cover all use cases. So hopefully you understand those. If not, just let me know and we can go over more. I think they're pretty intuitive. So now here's your auto response. You could do the cool thing before asking questions. You could just read this information that's been given there to you so that you can actually understand this feature. And then if you've read that and you still don't understand it, then that's a good time at that point to go in and ask questions. But basically what this says is that anybody, remember, this is our post that we're going to go in and have people comment on. Anybody who comments on this post, they are going to get this message, okay? They're going to receive this message, and only after they physically reply to this message will they become a subscriber and will they get possibly the opt-in packet or the opt-in flow that I've specified for them. Okay, so if they don't reply to this message here, say no, yes, anything, they could put in a smiley face, anything. They just have to physically send a response, some message back. If they don't do that, then they're not one of our subscribers. Okay. So this just basically tells you that Facebook really throttles, every API does this, they throttle the amount of requests that you can make to them per second, per minute, per hour. So Facebook does that as well. And what ManyChat tells you that they do on their side is they handle all the throttling on their side. So most APIs they tell you what the rate limit is, and then they also tell you whether they will do the throttling or not, which means if I'm only telling you you can send 5 API calls per minute to my API, if I tell you I'll do the throttling, that means that I'm telling you you can send 500 API calls in 1 minute, and I'll just throttle them myself, and I'll only consume them at 5 API calls per minute. So you don't have to worry about this at all. All this is telling you is that if people aren't receiving your comments automatically, then what that could be for is you have either a lot of people that are commenting on your post, or essentially there's a lot of people that are using ManyChat and commenting on posts on ManyChat, so they're throttling down the number because ManyChat's going to get, or Facebook's going to give it and say, hey, for every individual user, you can do this many, but also at an application level, you can do this many. So that's all in Facebook's control. So they're just telling you that you know, if your messages aren't going automatically and you have them set to automatically before you freak out, most likely what's happening is they're just throttling things. So maybe wait 30 seconds or a minute, and then that message should have actually went out. Okay, so here we're going to give that auto reply message, and it's going to say, hey, not full name, but it's going to say first name, and it's going to say, what's up, first name. Are you really going to love me forever? Type yes or no. And you can literally type anything that you want here. Who cares? Now, we could go in and change that in our opt-in actions. And I'm not going to do that because I don't want to. But we could go in and change that and say yes, no. So we could change that. Now only people who type yes or no will actually receive this packet of data that we're going to give them. But like I said, I don't want to do that. Anybody who types maybe, they wouldn't receive the packet of information. You can do that if you want, but hopefully you understand what that does. So it just is a keyword trigger. So I think I made it pretty clear. So I always do this. You have the option. You can just not send the opt-in message whatsoever. So if you choose this option, then there's only one use if you choose this option. The only use is you will gain a subscriber. So if anybody actually responds back to your message, your auto response, this first message, anybody who responds back to this message, at that point, they become a subscriber. Now, if you have this option, at that point, they become a subscriber, get no more information from your bot. You've basically have a dead end there, and you're waiting now for engagement with them. So I would definitely not recommend to do that. So let's say you don't want to send a message. If you don't want to send them a message physically, that's fine. What you could do is, if you remember, this is the packet. This is this packet, this day 6, session 3 Facebook post response. That's this guy right here. This is the flow, that generic content that we created by going into content and creating new content, so that we can always have this robust generic content that we can reuse anywhere in the bot anytime we want to. Or so that we can easily go in, and whenever we see these messages being delivered to people and we see, oh shit, I made a typo there and I typed now instead of no, which is something that I actually did today. How could I go in and edit that? Well, I could try to remember, well, how did people get this dialogue of information? How did they get there? Or I could just know, hey, who cares how they got there? I know no matter how they got there, they were routed to one of these generic flows that I created beforehand, and I know what that flow was. That flow must have been something like attended live training, so I can just go right in there and change that. Just like this, I can come right in here to this day 6, session 3 Facebook auto response. Now, I could even get more creative and grab this guy and call this guy, rename him to the actual post so that I can easily go in and find this guy later on. And that is probably going to be the most useful thing to do. But I'm not going to do that. If we wanted to do that, we could do that, and that would probably be the most useful thing to do. But like I said, let's assume that we don't want to do this option right here, okay? Or we do want to do this option. We want to have this option where we don't send the opt-in message at all. So I would tell you that you don't want to pick this option. Even if you want this option, do not pick this option. If you want this option to be satisfied, don't pick this option. Pick this option right here. In this generic message, come over here, perform some actions, make this your starting step, delete this guy right there, make this some starting step where you open a conversation and you notify admins, and that will be it. So now you've essentially done this. You haven't sent any message to anybody, but what you have done is you've notified yourself. So you sent yourself a message that, hey, this person has just subscribed. They've opted in. You haven't replied anything back to them. So what's happening? They are hanging right there. If this is a valuable lead for you, then you're leaving somebody hanging right there. You've sent them a message, they've replied to your message, and now what? Now they're just going to sit there and wait for you forever until the end of the world. And then at that time, 7 days later, when you come back and talk to them, they're going to be eager and anxious and happy to consume your content or services. Probably not. So do yourself a favor. If you want to satisfy this option right here and you don't want to send these guys any messages at all, don't click this. Click this, and the message that you send them, just do something like this. Open up a conversation, send yourself a message. So now you can go in and just go into your live chat and you'll find those conversations. You'll find those right there, and you'll go in and be able to deal with them right then and there so that you can easily follow up with these people. So now let's go back to that piece of content. Let's go to this guy. So now we want to, whenever somebody comes in and responds to that, the only thing that we have left to do is literally finish up building this guy right here. And this could be pretty straightforward. Is there any particular thing, Vicky, that you want to tell them whenever they opt in? So I'll just send them this. I'll just say, who cares really? I don't need your love to love you back. I'll love you forever. And my love is unconditional. And then I'll just send a little bit of delay, a 3-second delay. Actually, I'll send like a 7-second. No, I'll send a 5-second delay. And then I'll just say, just kidding. I'm just a bot. I don't have feelings and can't express love. If I did, it would just be a lie for marketing purposes. So now I'll send them this. So now I've actually created this message. And remember, this is a generic flow. We could go in and we could build this out as complex as we wanted to. So now our entire tool is done. So now all we need is to activate this tool right here. So now that that tool is activated, I'm just going to give this to you guys. And if one of you guys wants to just go in there, or a couple of you guys want to just go in there and comment on that post that we just made, then you'll see exactly how this works. And while you guys do that, I'll just look and see some of these other questions. And yes, this is a pro feature. You definitely have to be pro. So if some of you guys could just go in there and comment on that post there you go. So now you can see Vicky commented anything, Margie commented anything, and then we should see that in just a second that my bot, if I look out here in my bot, I should see that my bot must be sending them out some messages. So let's look and see if my bot has sent them out some messages. So I can see that Colin must have commented on that. So let's see, did Colin comment on that? Colin commented on that. So I can see Colin's commented on that. I can see Vicky's commented on that. I can see Marjorie's commented on that. And I can see I sent this, oops. So I can also see that I need to edit that guy and then basically put in a space right there in between those guys and save that because I messed that up. But I can see Marjorie's commented on that, but she did not respond back to my message. So technically, she wouldn't be a subscriber in my bot. So I can see that Vicky's actually commented on that, and then she did actually respond to my bot, and then she's actually been delivered those series of messages that I described right here, my opt-in message. So here's my auto response. There's that auto response right there. she got that, then she replied back, and then she got my series of messages, and I see Colin did the exact same thing. He replied, got my series of messages. So hopefully, so maybe you haven't received it, Margie, but I do see that the bot has delivered it to you. So I do see here that, I see here that you haven't replied yet to the bot. So that's why I see that the bot hasn't received any answer from you. So that could be from your internet. And I see Khalif here. He said hi, and I see he's got his message there. And I can see Royale D, she went in, she replied, Craig went in. So that's pretty straightforward. And if you guys are going to do that, so if you guys are going to comment on that, I would definitely recommend, if you could just help me out, just make sure that just at least once for this session, you click on that link right there, just at least once for this session, because all that will do, is go in and basically help me out and help me keep track of how many of these sessions that you've actually attended, which will obviously help me engage the right people to find out who can give me the best feedback as far as what the hell I'm doing wrong and what I could do better to make these more valuable for you guys. So, but anyways, you can see exactly how that works. So now, yeah, feel free, like I said, any other questions or concerns you have, you can definitely put them in the box. You can raise your hand up. You could just open your mic and blurt something out. But until then, I'll just go over this one other part, because I see that, Marjorie, you said the same thing, but you also want to put it into the ad, okay? So now let's just make the assumption, Marjorie, that so far you understand exactly how to repeat this process for a normal post. Can I make that assumption, Marjorie, that everything that we've done, you understand how to do this for a normal post? Okay. So now if you know how to do that for a normal post, the only thing that's different for an ad. So you have two different ways to do an ad, okay? Obviously, I could come right here. I could just boost this guy. I could give Facebook some money and say, hey, show this shit to a bunch more people who are interested in all this stuff. And then Facebook would just go in and do that stuff. So I could do that. I could boost this post and turn it into an ad, all right? That's one way. The other option that I have is what everybody refers to as a Facebook dark post, okay? Now, maybe that sounds magical or mystic, but I'm here to tell you that that's not magical or mystic at all. A Facebook dark post, all that a Facebook dark post is let's say you come right here to your ads manager, and inside your ads manager, you click this button called Create Ad, or you did the other thing like I did, which basically just clicks the shortcut to create ad. So you just come in and you create an ad, you pick some ad objective, blah, blah, blah. You go through the whole part of creating an ad. Hopefully you know how to do that. It seems like you do, because you're asking about ads. So if you create an ad this way, that is what everybody will refer to as a Facebook dark post. And the only reason they are referring to it as a Facebook dark post is because when I create an ad for my page, it will never show up on my page ever. You'll never be able to find it on my page. It will never show up in the news feed of anyone who likes my page or even their friends. No one will ever see that post outside of the custom audience that I told Facebook to show that advertisement to. So that's why it's called a dark post, because it's nowhere, no one can ever see that outside of your ad running. That's the only way anybody can see that, unless, of course, somebody's actually shared that ad. That's the only way your ad could get shown and somebody could see that post outside of the demographics that you've given to Facebook, is if somebody has shared that post. Okay? So to go in and do this is really, really simple as well. All you need to do is, the only thing you need to remember here is make sure that you're grabbing a post that was posted by the same page that your bot is attached to. So if you go in and try to use this demo bots growth tool for Facebook comments, on a post that was created by your John Vaughn page, well, pretty logical that that's not going to work. So the page that posted the post and the page that holds the bot should be the same. So all you're going to do is you're going to find the ad, the dark post that you want to auto reply to. You're just going to highlight it like that by clicking it. You can click this little over button right here. You're going to click this little pencil button, which is for the preview, so that you can go in and actually I can see that this isn't a good one. Okay. Now, lucky for me, Facebook allows me just to go in and do this and quickly change that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave them right there, and then I'll come back and I will come back and pick some guy that actually is most likely running on that page. And here's one right here. So here's an ad that's running for that page that has the bot. So now I'm just going to click on that guy. Remember, I'm just going to click on the ad. I'm going to click on this over button. I'm going to click on this little pencil. I'm going to click on this little pencil right here because that gives me a way that I can edit and see the ad preview. So this ad preview is what I actually want. I want this ad preview. I want to click this little box guy right here, and I want to see this post, Facebook post with comments. So now that I can see this post, now I'm going to grab this guy right here, and I'm going to come right back in here to my growth tool. And let's say here's my growth tool. Now I can just deactivate that, change this post, put in that URL that I grabbed. Remember, I just came right here to this. I clicked on my post. I clicked this little pencil. I looked for my ad preview, and I clicked this little button right here. And then Facebook gives me all these options. I just want to click on this See Post with Facebook Comments, and that Facebook will give me a URL that references the post ID. And I'm just going to copy and paste that URL, and then I'm going to stick it right inside there and hit select. And now Facebook has found that. So now if you guys were to go to that guy, to that post, I need to make that confirmation again. Now, if you guys were to go to that actual post, and if you guys were to comment onto this post, you would see that the same message sequence that you got when you commented on the other post, you would be getting now, because I've put that comment tool, I've just associated a different post with it. So anybody that was to go in and comment on this post, which is that last post ID that I put in there, anybody that was to go in and comment on this, like Khalif did, I can go in and see now if I look at my inbox that Khalif has got this message again, okay? So he has got this message again. And, well, I can actually see that these guys have actually got a different message, okay? So these guys have got a different message, all right? And the reason what's up, dude? You like Trex and beer? So the reason for this message is obviously I have another comment tool. I have another growth tool somewhere. If I were to go in and look at my growth tools, I would have, if I did a search, it would probably have that guy right there. See, here's that guy right there. And if I look at his auto response, he's got something already responding to him. And actually, that's not even the right one. I'm sure I've got another growth tool because I go in and hook these same guys up over and over again. So if you have multiple growth tools for one post, it's going to take the first one that was ever connected is what it seems like. That's just not a good practice to have multiple growth tools for one post. Obviously, you shouldn't do that.
Mom, I'm going to go to the store. I'll be back in about 40 minutes.
Okay. See you when you come back. So that's why that happened. Okay. Because we have multiple of those guys. So I can see that this guy is the exact same guy. So I want to come back to this guy, turn him off, change the post back to this post because that's the post I actually want that guy on, and then I'll reactivate that. after I make this explicit again. So now hopefully, Margie, that answered your question on how you could do the exact same thing with a paid advertisement, or what people call a Facebook dark post. Great, no problem. So, Vicky, now you got to love me forever. So don't forget about that. So those were all the questions that you guys asked me so far. So, so if you want this training to continue and you want to keep moving forward, that means either you need to get on your microphone and tell me what we need to talk about next and what other questions you have, or you need to add some stuff in the box so that I can talk about. Because if not, I'm just going to drink coffee and smoke cigarettes.
Okay. Thank you for that. I am just recognizing that in watching other bots, like now I'm recognizing the back panel and seeing the response, and that makes a lot of sense. I'm thankful for that. Can we go back to structuring bots and kind of just more to that area of and otherwise I can't hear anybody else if they are speaking. I'm sorry, my mic or my speakers must be working.
No one else is speaking.
Okay.
No one else is speaking but you. Most everybody has themselves muted unless they want to speak. And most people that come are just shy. Not everybody's native English speakers, so that they don't want to speak. And a lot of people, they don't really know exactly what they want to learn, so they're just sitting there waiting, watching, hoping someone else will say, hey, talk about this, talk about that, and then they can just learn those things. But I definitely recommend you guys take advantage of the time and learn whatever you want. I charge a lot of money for my time. I charge my clients $100 an hour to talk to me on the phone like this, and I'm giving you my time for free, and I can literally help you build some of the most complex bots you could imagine. So I would definitely recommend, just don't be shy. Whatever you want to learn, this is your time, so take advantage of it.
Okay, so that is interesting. And all of the above for myself, and that's why I'm just going to get out there and say, like, suggest something. What about bots for authors? Or if I'm working with a manuscript and I want to be able to reach out and comment or have response back and forth from users or members or subscribers, to provoke them to check out, I don't know what, chapters and stuff like that, so that eventually they buy the book, which would be the ultimate goal. Is that something that you could work out in a bot sequence?
Yeah, sure. So you could literally have your bot do almost anything that you want. For example, if you go to my demo bot, and you just type in find emails, once you type in find emails, it will just ask you for a website. You give it the website, it will go out to the website, scrape all the data, any emails that it finds, it will just give back to you. Okay, you can type in my bot get weather, and then when you type in get weather, it's going to ask you for a zip code. You give it the zip code, it will go off and look and see what the weather is in that area, give you back the weather, the temperature, wind speed, etc. So anything you could really imagine, you can make your bot do. So I want you just to keep in mind that my background, my expertise is in software engineering. Right. And not so much in marketing, content marketing, stuff like that. But what it sounds like you could do is one thing that you could do easily is you could go in and you could create some keywords, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and find some of the juiciest little piece of content from there, and you could reply those back, right? So somebody can say, well, what happens in chapter 3? And then now you could just give them back those juicy pieces of content, just those limited pieces of content. And then basically, let's say you could have 4 or 5 pieces of content, and you could have a flow where you deliver one piece of content. Want to know more? Yes or no. They type yes, and then you give them another piece of content. And you do that, let's say 3 or 4 times until finally they hit yes again. And you're like, great, go buy my book. Here's where you can buy it at. Or if you want, you can actually buy it right online through the bot if you want, because that's totally possible. So you could do something like that. You could take advantage of these sequences here. So these sequences, if you know what an autoresponder is, these sequences are kind of like an autoresponder. So you could set up, this is a 7-day content sequence where you're going to deliver content to somebody for 7 days during this sequence. So as soon as you add them to this sequence, you'll send them this message, and then 1 day later, these 1 days are relative always to this previous message here. So whenever they get this message, 24 hours later, they'll get this message. After they get this message, 24 hours later, they'll get this message. And then let's say you could create this sequence for 7 days, or for 3 days, or for 30 days, or how many chapters you have in your book, 29, create it for 29 days, or when's your book releasing? Let's say your book's going to release in 11 days from now. Make it 11 days, whatever sequence, however many days you want to make it. And I can't tell you the best amount of days for that is going to be. But you could pick whatever amount of days that you want. And then here in these sequences, you could give the same thing. You could say, hey, I've got, let's say I'm going to do seven days, and I've got, just for simplicity's sake, we'll say I got 21 chapters in my book. So every day I'll go in and give them a really juicy content snippet of chapter 1, and then chapter 2, and then chapter 3, right? Chapter 1, John meets Ankita. Chapter 2, like they go on a second date. Like chapter 3, chapter 3, some other stuff happens, and it's just awesome, and that's all. Now, here comes day 2. Okay, chapter 4. John says goodbye to Ankita because he's got to leave. Chapter 5, they have some long distance relationship. Chapter 6, they're still in some long distance relationship, and then et cetera, et cetera. You're just giving them some content from your book over 7 days. So that's something you could easily accomplish there.
Awesome. I see the general idea. Thank you for that.
Hey, John, this is Dennis.
Hey,
Sorry
Dennis.
about the outburst earlier. I didn't realize Mike was on. Here's my question for you. You showed us before a restaurant bot, right, where someone can place items into their shopping cart,
Thank you.
essentially. Is there a way, once I, as the user, have selected 2 or 3 items to purchase, I have not yet paid, but I want to review my order so I can either modify a quantity or remove an item from the shopping cart?
Yeah, that's doable, but that's going to take a little bit of logical engineering. But that's doable. So to do that right now, the way that I'm doing it in the restaurant bot, to do that is not going to be so robust, because in the restaurant bot I use a list to hold the item, and in the list,
Right.
in the list, that works like a stack. So I could only modify the last entry. I wouldn't be able to pick or choose. I want to modify thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, and say, okay, I want to modify thing 2. Okay, so if I wanted to build something, so I could modify that bot to easily allow you to do that in just a few minutes. We can modify that bot to do that, but it's only going to be able to allow you to change the last entry. Okay.
Only the last one, correct?
Correct. So to be able to give something more robust, where the guy could go in and say, okay, I want to modify item 2, and I want to change its quantity from 8 to 3. To do that, we could do that, but it would require us to go back to the drawing board in our logic and how we stored the order object, because that order, right, we have an object, so we'd actually have to go in and change the way that we actually did that. And probably what we'd go in and implement is
I was thinking we would need to store an item number. So like item 2 that you ordered is a beer, and item 3 is a sandwich. And if I want to change the order, the keyword might be change 2. So the change triggers the action, and the second part of that variable tells me which item I have to go change.
We could do that. So, but we would still have to go back. We'd still have to go back to the drawing board with our storage object. Right now, I'm using Zapier storage. I'm using a list object. So we would still have to go back to the drawing board, and we would have to go in and let's find that guy real quick.
Could that list Zapier component where you store the data, can that have two fields, or is it only one column?
You can only it's just pretty much one column that's associated on the list. So you can't have two. So if you look here, I've got this push value onto a list. Here's the template. I'm pushing a value onto the list. I can only push a value. That's all I can do, and I can decide, does this go to the beginning of the list, or does it go to the end of the list? So I can come in here and I can do this. I can pop a value from the list, which will essentially grab the very last value and the last value that was entered. Okay.
Right.
I haven't tested Zapier to see how they're calling their list, but I would assume it's the last thing that you've put on the list. Then this will pop it out, and then I could use that to modify it. So to do what you're saying, what I would really want to do is I would have, and the reason that I don't like this approach is just because it requires a huge amount of more engineering. Because in this example, I have one Zap called add to cart, just one Zap, and anywhere in my sequence where you click the button add to cart, it triggers this same Zap. So to do what you're wanting to do, we could accomplish it, but every one of our add to cart buttons will need to call a different Zap. We will need to have add item 1 to cart, add item 2 to cart, add item 3 to cart. And then what we would do is we would replace this push value on a list. We would replace that with a storage object, and we would set a child value. So because now what we'll do, and literally we'll have to have, in this Zap, we'll have to have 3 of these exact same guys, because what we'll need to do is we'll need to save a child value, we'll have storage, and then our key, we're gonna, and actually no, we can do it all with just one action here, so that's fine. Here we'd need to have something like this, the user ID, and then this would be item 1, right? And then here we could go in and have quantity. And that's literally all I think we would really need to put in here is quantity. Maybe we could have total, but I don't think total would need to be here. All we would have here is the actual quantity. And then from here, we could go in, and anytime we want, we could ask them, we could say, hey, what item do you want to edit? They would say add item 1, and it could literally, we could call this same Zap over and over again, and then just edit this quantity here whenever they wanted. But like I said, to do this, if we have 100 items that they could choose from, we got to have 100 Zaps, because each one of these, because we're no longer going to use a list, we're going to use basically a key pair.
Right. Okay. I get it.
Totally doable. Or we could go with 2 other options. So one other option that we have is still requires us to completely change the structure of that particular Zap. So one other option is going to be this MySQL. We could use this MySQL right here, and we could just set up our own external database, and then we could use this MySQL, and then we can update a row, right? So we'll just be able to go in and actually update a row, no problem there. Or our other option, which is going to be the most labor intensive, is whatever, we could have our own database, and then we could build our own API around that database, and then we could go in and launch our own Zapier integration to communicate with that API that talks to that database, and then we could build our Zapier integration to be pretty robust. But that way, obviously, it's going to require a lot more engineering. This is going to require some engineering. The other option is going to require still an amount of engineering, but that is what the that option I would call dumb engineering, because that option doesn't take an actual engineer, a developer who's writing code. That somebody can just click buttons and create those 100 zaps. But we could do it. That's just it's gonna require a significant amount of overhead in our Zapier creations.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That just kind of gives a sense as to the complexity.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want, and I mentioned that several times. And it's pretty much anything that we want is achievable, but it just gets into how the complexity of how we want to actually build things. So anything we want to achieve, we can. Now, how I set things up for the demo bot was literally just as quick as possible, the quickest route possible, just so somebody could actually go in and see it. What you're saying is obviously more robust, and it would be for a real restaurant. It would be better for them, for their user, to give a better user experience to allow that. And guess what? That translates into a great pricing model in our application, where we can go in and say, hey, to build your bot this way is going to cost X
Right.
amount of dollars.
Exactly.
Here's the downside. You want a more robust app. You want a bot that has a better user interface, and your users enjoy using a lot more. Well, we can build that out, but it's significantly more complex, which means that those dollar signs are obviously going to increase. But you'll see your ROI on that in the future. So
yeah. Okay. That was helpful. Thanks, John.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello, John.
Hey.
I don't know if I'm next in line, but I have also a similar question. Not a similar, but it's also in the restaurant niche. And what I would like to do is I would like to take advantage of Facebook targeting for birthdays. So because this is perpetual, it goes on all year long, I would like to develop for a restaurant a coupon or a coupon code. And then I would like to also capture their email address, and I would like to do more actually, make table reservations, even send a reminder, but this is too much. I just would like to ask you if you could give me like a general overview how you would go about setting up a coupon for restaurants for birthdays, which starts with advertising. So advertising is the key, because I reach them every week. I reach every week different people who have birthdays for the restaurant. I give them a free meal, and it's a BOGO offer. First meal is the free meal is for the birthday person, and then they bring always people with them. But that's marketing. And what I would like to do is to make it as smooth as possible for the people who get the coupon code, so also have a follow-up and they really come to the restaurant to claim that free meal. So there are so many things involved, and I don't expect you to talk about all of this. I would just ask you first, how would I go about to get from the advertising to give them a coupon? Is that necessary that I have to give them a coupon which is has a value, like a number, and it cannot be reused? I don't think so, because it's birthday, so they won't use it twice. I want to make it as simple as possible, but I want to give them a coupon code. I would like to make them to make a table reservation. I would like to capture their email address, and finally, I would like to remind them on the day of their birthday that this reservation is done, and remind them, basically. Is that too much? Is that too confusing? I'm sorry.
Like I said, Joseph, my expertise is in engineering. I'm a software engineer. When people have complexities that they can't even grasp their heads around, they ask me. When my engineers, I got 30 engineers that work for me. When they can't figure something out, they come ask me. So no, definitely not too complex. Just let me order some coffee. Can I have some coffee? Is any coffee available for me? So now I want you to keep in mind that what you said is, and this is a really relative thing, what you said is you want to make this as simple as possible. Now, there's two routes there. You want to make it as simple as possible for you, or you want to make it as simple as possible for the user. Because if I make it as simple as possible for you to set up, that typically is going to translate into being the most complex for the user. If I make it as simple as possible for the user, that's typically going to translate into being the most complex for you to set up. My recommendation would be go with the simplest for the user, since that's who's going to essentially give you the money. So make their lives easier.
I agree. It's a one-time setup. Once I have to learn it, I can apply it for many restaurants.
So lucky for you, you see, birthday promo email.
Mhm.
Looks like I've already created this because it looks like somebody's already said this before you. So so the solution that we came to the other day was actually a pretty cool solution. So for it, let's just open up an incognito window. Let's go to Gmail and let's open up a Google Sheet that we have probably at john@tier5.us. I think this is where I actually created the Google Sheet. And let's just go in and look at this Google Sheets and see if somewhere this Google Sheet could be here. Horoscope data, calculate age from B-Day. So that guy right there. Okay. So now, essentially, what we would do is let's look at our zaps and let's go maybe here and let's see if I can find a zap. Now, this is another best practice that I would recommend to you guys. Whatever you call this guy right here, whatever you call this guy in Zapier, call him the same thing so that you can easily find that guy. You see how I can instantly find that guy, record birthday, demo bot. So now that I'm actually looking at this guy, guess what I know automatically? I know that this zap is not the right zap to show you, and this flow is not the right flow to show you because it is referencing a zap that doesn't actually talk to. So probably not birthday wishes. That's something that we did earlier today. So maybe it's age. So let's see. Maybe it is age. Give dance plan by age. That's what it was. That's what we were doing. So you see this guy right here, push birthday. So now I'll come over here to push birthday. I'll go back to Zapier, go back to my dashboard, go back right here and see if I can find push birthday. There's push birthday. And now I can easily see. Now you see why I'm giving you that advice and I'm saying, hey, whatever you call this zap right here in MiniChat, whatever name you give this thing, you just come over here and whenever you name your zap in Zapier, you give it the same name. That way, whenever you got 300 zaps and you need to go find one because you need to edit it, then you can easily, or maybe you need to show it to somebody else, you can easily find that thing and don't spend. Imagine if we did this live training and I had to go in and spend 30 minutes to actually look or 5 minutes to look for the zap. You guys would be so freaking bored. So here is the actual zap. You can see it's triggered whenever you push a birthday. So here what we do is we create a spreadsheet row. Pretty straightforward. We're going to give the MiniChat user ID. Literally what we're going to do is we're going to do this right here, okay? So just for the purpose of the demo, I'll show you guys something really cool that you could do in the demo. You see this right here. This is give dance plan by age. So now I want you guys to be able to experience that flow, right? I really want you guys to experience that flow and help me out on the demo. So I'm going to create a messenger ref URL, and this is going to be called give dance plan by age. Nope. So you see how I've given this tool a very meaningful name. I know exactly what flow it's going to push out to you guys. I know exactly what type of tool it is. It's a ref tool, and I know what I created it for day 6, session 3 of live training. Okay, so all I want to do now is grab this guy right here and copy that guy. And actually, I didn't need to do that, but I want to do dance plan by age. I want to select that flow right there. Okay, so let's save our widget. Let's copy this guy. Let's publish this guy. Now, let's just wait right here. And let's see if you guys would be so kind to just go in there and click on that little button right there. And then what will happen is whenever you click on that link, you'll be taken through this flow right here where you can just give me your kid's birthday. And then what you'll see is you're going to be popped in right here. So if a couple of you guys could be so kind, just click that link and then go in and just give me your birthday in the example format that you would expect a birthday to be in that I've just given you to. So you could literally give it in a little bit of a different format. You could use your dashes if you wanted to, and then the algorithm would be smart enough to go in and do that. And let's just make sure this zap is on, and this zap is on. So I can see that only one person has been nice enough to click that link. Thanks a lot, Craig. If you could just give me your kid's birthday. It doesn't have to be a real kid. So now I can see, look at there. There's Craig. He just put it in. I see that his kid is 15 years old. Okay? So now you see how to get the birthday, right? How did we get the birthday? We just asked the dude for the birthday is all we did. We just said, hey, could you give me your birthday? They gave me their birthday. We stored it right here in kid's birthday text. So you can see how that happened. Maybe if just a couple more you guys could go through that and put it in there so we could really see this thing working. We could just see what actually happens here. So now you see the links right here in the, oh, I sent the link privately to Craig. Sorry about that. There's the link, guys. Sorry about that. I sent it privately, I guess, to Craig. That's here. I was thinking he was just the best student on the session, just doing everything, but he's the only one that actually got the link. So there's the actual link right there, and you can see whenever you click on that actual link, what's going to happen is if you click on that link, it's just going to put you through this field right here. It's going to put you through right here, and I can see someone else said 8. Let's see who said that. Vicky said that. So now I see you put in this information, but I also see that. Okay. Well, I see that you gave me a date. Joseph, you gave me a date, but you didn't actually click on the link to go through the flow for me to be actually listening to that. And I can see here that this person put the date in the wrong format. They gave me a 21, so they gave me a non-standardized format where they are not from a Western civilization. They're from a non-Western civilization, it seems like, where they're used to actually giving a date in day, year. So let's just edit this for them. We're going to go in and call this 01 and then call this 21 and now edit that for them. So now we got the correct information. So so now somebody else put in this information and it looks like that information was just not actually correct. So I'm not sure what actually happened here. We'd have to go in and see what happened here, but it looks like I just got completely wrong information here. But even Google, even the algorithm will assume this to be some date. But anyways, let's just forget that guy right there because we'd have to go in and look and see what the data was given there. So now you guys can see what's going on here, okay? So now you guys are giving me that date and we're using that date and we're actually calculating your age. You see you guys are being added there as soon as you go in and fill out and give that actual date. So could easily go in and edit that to give somebody's name so that we know who was actually doing that. Let's say name. We just go in there, go to the Zapier, and then now what
Did it lead me to the wrong place?
No.
Or how did I respond to that instead of?
Let's see, who was that? Vicky that
No.
said that?
D.
D. Well, I don't see you here right now, D. I don't see where you responded to anything here. So I don't know. I don't see you at all. But if you just click this link right here that I put in the chat, then that will route you into that flow if you just click that
Okay.
link.
Thank you.
So now I'll just finish this up. I'm going to add that name to that field, and then I'll just come in here and say user name, and then I'll just continue there. So now that I know that anybody else, if they go in and they fill out this information, so anybody else that goes in and fills that out, then we'll be able to see who that was that actually filled that out if we want to see that information. So now we'll go back. Where was we at? So now you can see what's happening in this zap, okay? So what's happening in this zap is what happens is whenever you go through that flow, we trigger this zap called push birthday. Now, once we push that birthday, we're going to go in and just add a row to this calculate age by birthday. You could have a different sheet called, birthday offers, and then just dump everybody to that sheet. Now, what we do, we just save their ManyChat user ID. You don't necessarily need this if you're going to not send them out the offer through ManyChat. So what I would recommend is you would basically have this and call it an email. And then now you could go in and have their ManyChat user ID, so you could push it out through Messenger, where they're most likely more likely to respond and see your message than email. But then you could also push it out to their email addresses as well. So now you could have their email as well, and you could just do like we just did. You could just refresh these fields, and then you would get that email, and then you could just grab this guy from Zapier and just, let's say, do a search email, and then let's just pop his email in there. And then now we'll be saving that guy's email if we have their email address. So now you can see how that's happening. So everything else here, you don't actually need, because everything else here was just what we were doing is this lady that this was created for on a live demo. This entire process was created on a demo just like this. And this lady, she ran a dance studio, and according to a kid's age, she had a particular dance training and a particular set of dance classes and time schedules for those dance classes according to the kid's age. So what we would do is we would first pop the birthday in here. We use this little function right here. We use this little function to basically derive a number from this guy's birthday. This is just a function. We put that function in every single time. In this row, we put that function in. We just input that function, and what that function will do is we'll calculate an age from somebody's birthday. Okay, so pretty straightforward there. So now everything else in this is literally, we would just go in and we would look up somebody's ManyChat ID from the user that triggered this process, so that we could go in and find out, oh, it was this person, and we could return back this piece of data so that we could get their age. And then from that, we would grab their age and we would do another lookup on another spreadsheet to find what plan was available there by age, because she had another spreadsheet where here she would have ages, and then over here we had all the information about the plans and the dates of classes and everything for that particular age. So now we could go look up that age, get the plans back, and then finally send it back. So for what we need to do with this demo, our process could end right here. And then after this, we could go in here and then just, have some message that says, thanks, I'll send you an offer on your birthday. Okay. So now that's done. So everybody follow so far what we needed to do there. The only thing that I would expect maybe you guys would be just a little bit confused about would be this function right here. So I could just pop that function in right there. And this is the function that you would use if you wanted to calculate somebody's age automatically from their birthday. And that function you would use, you see that you can use it. And now that function uses another little function, this row function, so that you can figure out what what row that you're on, because this guy right here needs to reference this guy and not this guy. Because obviously if this guy references this guy, he's going to give you this guy's age and not this guy's age. So we use that row function just so every time we can make sure that this guy is referencing the right actual age. Okay, so that would be the only thing I would expect you guys to be confused a little bit by there, but I give you the function, so pretty straightforward. Okay, so now at this point, it's really, really simple, because at this point, all we would have to do is go to Zapier. We would just click Make a Zap. We would just go in and say Google Sheets. And then we would just say, hey, whenever an updated spreadsheet row happens. And then we would continue and we would say, hey, we want to use this calculate age by birthday. So we'll just find that. We want to use that guy. We're going to use worksheet 1, and we want to trigger only when age column updates, okay? Now this guy will just update in real time. So whenever I turn 32, whenever this date hits, this guy will automatically update, because he is actually referencing a today's date function. So as every day, this data is always relative to today's date, okay? So I probably just actually messed that up in one of these guys. Let me just double check that none of them took that data, and they didn't. So the point is, this guy will update in real time. As soon as this part of the function today, as soon as this value is constantly changing, and Google will just automatically know about that. So this value is dependent on this. So as soon as it's my birthday, this guy will change. Once it is this date, this guy will just automatically update himself. So if we listen to this row right here for whenever it updates, then essentially what you're doing is on these guys' birthday, you're getting a notification. So now we can just be engineers, engineer that, and tap right into that. So now as soon as that actually updates, then at that point, it's up to us what we want to do. If you want to send an email, then you can just go in and choose your app. Hopefully you use Gmail, because that's pretty straightforward. If you want to send a mini chat, you can use mini chat. And since we're using mini chat, we can go in and send a text message to user, or we could go in and send a content to a user, right? We could send a content to a user. Let's just not send them an email, because no one reads emails as fast as they read Facebook messages. Let's be real. I mean, that it's going to be that dude's birthday then came and gone 3 days before he sees that email. But that Facebook message he'll see today on his birthday, and he'll actually come into your store. So we can just do this, and we can go in and say, hey, this user is going to be some custom field, and this user is going to be this ID from that spreadsheet that we're actually listening to for updates, and we're going to send him some piece of content. What content are we going to send him? Well, we have some check mini chat to bring in new choices, birthday promo email, not that content. We should have some other. Come on, let's refresh those guys, mini chat. I'm pretty sure that we created some generic content earlier in a different demo just for a birthday wishes. That guy right there, we just need to publish him. So he just gets this content, happy birthday F name. Just wanted to give you a happy birthday. So now I could get a little bit more advanced here, and I could come here to settings, and I could come in. Didn't actually want to do that. I did it again. So I actually wanted to come here, and let's just come to our custom fields, and let's just add somebody's age here and say that this is a number. All right. So now we're going to add their age, and now what we can do is we can come back in here, and we can add an action right before we send this content, and we can say mini chat. And then we can come to mini chat, and we can say set custom field, save and continue. We're going to use this demo bot here. And we want to go in and use a custom value. We want to use this user ID from the spreadsheet. This we want to go in and get this age. What value do we want to give it? We're going to give it this age coming from our spreadsheet. So now we can come in and give this guy this custom piece of content, which should be called birthday wishes. So now let's give this guy and say, hey, go get all this data again. Let's refresh those guys. And we still didn't get those birthday wishes. That is a piece of content from DemoBot. So if we're not getting those birthday wishes, if we want to fix that, then let's just test this step, retest this, create and continue, retest that. Now let's come in here and then let's just do birthday. There's that birthday wishes. So now we can continue. Now we can just go back to this little content and edit this guy. Now the only thing here is I'm not sure if they let me do that condition or not. So let's check to see if they let me do that condition. And they won't let me do it because this is a member object, so there's no way to do it. So I need to figure out a content that will actually be genericized, because it won't be proper English if I say I want to wish you a happy 31 birthday or a happy 15 birthday. But I can say we are celebrating age. Years of awesomeness. Now I think I can do that and still maintain proper grammar. So now as you can see, by Khalif, now as you can see, basically what will happen in real time as these guys' birthday, as they turn another birthday, this value will change. This value will just automatically update in real time. So as this value actually changes, then this other zap that we just created will tie into that changing field value, which means, hey, congratulations, it's dude's birthday. So now whenever that changes, we're going to go in and first we're going to set a custom field and push down their age into MiniChat so that we can reference that and create this real unique tailored birthday card for them, right? So we're going to push that data down to MiniChat, and then right after we push that data to MiniChat, we're going to send them this birthday wishes card, which is this birthday wishes card right there that is just going to reference that age that first we pushed down to Zapier. And now this guy is getting this happy birthday. So now if I wanted, I could go in and add a little delay and then add another card. And in here, I could give him I must have some 15% off discount or some discount or something, or, I'll give him some free spaghetti for his birthday, because who doesn't love spaghetti? So here I could give some promo, some coupon. I could have a PDF that I could give as a coupon. I could just literally tell him, hey, come in today and I'll give you 10% off, or I'll give you free drinks, or I'll give you a free dessert. And then I could just make sure that my little workers that work at my restaurant, are are trained to ask somebody, is it your birthday? And if it is, or trained to know that if it's somebody's birthday, they should be singing happy birthday, they should be delivering a free cake or giving some discount off of their item. And I just train my employees to know that. Or like I said, I could go in and give the coupon in right here. But that's how you could do that. So does that answer your question maybe?
Yes, John, this is very, very, very interesting. Thank you very much. I have more, but I think I cannot even digest it right now. I have to look at this, and it's very, very inspiring, and thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, could I get that coffee I ordered? Is that available or not available? Capos! I don't think Capos. Can I have some coffee, buddy? Thank you. So what else, guys? Okay, so Craig, you're still here? Yep, I'll just answer your question because I wasn't able to get to it. You're trying to use your email list to direct email subscribers to like my Facebook page. After they like my Facebook page, then I would push content out to them that they would receive as followers and engage to the bot. In other words, I'm trying to engage an email platform to messenger platform to take advantage of the highest. Thank you so much, Topos. So again, I'm going to refer here to a personal disclaimer that I am not a marketer. I am a software engineer. So I can't really tell you exactly how to do this. I can tell you, though, that if you come in here, somehow, if you don't know how to do it, just Google it. Facebook create custom audience, and then basically inside here somewhere, I would first recommend that you find one that is sponsored by Facebook, because most likely that will give you the best data. And then you can look inside here, and I would say maybe right here, if I just click on this, it will take me to exactly where I need to go to create that custom audience. So yeah, it lets me create a custom audience. So I know that I can just basically come to that link that I just Googled, and I can say, hey, I want to create a custom audience and I want to use a customer file. And then from here, I can add customers from my own file, copy and paste data. So I can upload this, and I know downloads, and these downloads probably I've got some let's see, I've probably got some links. I probably got some list of people that actually I got from ClickFunnels that subscribe to my subscribe to my training. So whatever, I mean, all these are going to be customer lists, I would assume. So let's look and go next and see. Yeah, here's an email ID. Here's a phone number. Here's a first name. And then we could just go in first name. Here's a last name and map that to last name. There's an empty row. Don't upload. Now I can upload and create. And if there's enough people here, Facebook will now create a custom audience for me. And then whenever I go run my advertisement, and I have my advertisement and I select my audience from here, I can use one of those custom audiences. So I can use one of those custom audiences here. So here are different custom audiences that I've already created. So I could use one of those custom audiences there, target them with my advertisement. Now, once they are targeted with my advertisement, obviously in the ad, I would have picked that ad objective. I guess I would have created my ad objective to be, let's start over, to be, I guess, brand awareness and get likes or something. I'm pretty sure it would be brand awareness. I don't know, because they change this all the time. Reach, something like this. I don't know which one. This would be a lot more of a marketer question. So it'd probably be brand awareness or reach, or maybe maybe engagement. Yeah, here we go. Engagement, page likes. So I would use this, and then this would be obviously this would be my first audience, and then my second audience would be people who like my page. So see Facebook pages, people who like my page. So my first audience would be the customer audience. That would be your email list that you have right now. You'd run that ad. Then your second ad, that would just get people to come like your page, right? Your second audience would be, you want to target people who like your page. So that would be your second audience. And then those people, you would, let's say, advertise something to drive them into your bot. And then from there, you would do whatever you want to do. But that is, like I said, that's more of a marketing question and a little bit outside of what my expertise are and what I'd want you to really, take my word for. So maybe you'd want to confer with a marketer or something on that. But I believe that's how you would probably go in and do that.
John, this is Dennis. I have another question for you.
Sure, buddy.
Again, I'm just trying to, like you said, leverage the fact that you're available to us. So I'm trying to push down a little bit in terms of the basic stuff. So here's a scenario. Let's assume again, pick a restaurant just because it's easy to visualize. So you have the bot set up, and you're telling people, okay, pick a meal, pick a main dish. Let's assume it's a steak dish. And then you have them select either a drink or a dessert, let's say, right? And you're having steak, you happen to select beer, for example, as your beverage, okay? That data gets stored. You process your order, everything is fine. The second person comes in, the next customer comes in, they order a steak. The system then could look at that previous history of prior transactions and to say, you know what? People who've ordered steak have also liked beer in this case and offer it up as a suggestion, right? In other words, hey, John, what would you like to drink? And by the way, people who like steak happen to also like beer or prior customers beer. So in other words, the system could gather intelligence over time. The more users make selections, the next user who comes in, if they want a recommendation of what drink might go well with their dish, it could look up that history to say, okay, well, 32% of people who ordered steak happen to order beer. Maybe you'd like that. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, and you can totally do that, and we see that in our everyday shopping experiences. But unfortunately, as much as I love these guys at MiniChat and what they give to us, if we really wanted to make a bot that starts to get these types of complexities, it starts to get an actual AI that's gathering and basically assimilating previous data, averaging out, aggregating previous data, and making assumptions from that. That complexity is going outside really. That at this point we want to actually start building a complete custom bot and do what MiniChat does and just leverage this API, this messenger API that Facebook gives us that really allows us to create these bots. Because that's all MiniChat is doing. I mean, and I don't want to say that's all they're doing to make it sound like they're not doing a lot, because these guys are doing a hell of a lot in what they've given us, and it's an awesome tool, especially for the price they charge us. But if we want to start doing something like that, that's where now we need to start creating our own bot, because now for what you're talking about, we really need to have reference tables where we can actually reference and quickly actually look up, because what we don't want to do from a data perspective is, let's say we got 1,000 orders, and in order to figure out what people order most with their items, we don't literally want to go in and read 1,000 items and then look at those 1,000 orders and create some calculation. What we want to do is every time we place some order, we want to at the same time enter some data in a reference table, right, that says steak with this, because now once we get that new order, we can check and say, okay, do we already have a value for steak with this? If so, add an increment to people who have actually ordered that, and then if not, create a new one and set it default to 1. And then we just go in and actually query that table and say, hey, for a steak item, tell me what are the 3 most used items. And that's a pretty simple query that we can write to the database. But that's beginning to get into a little bit of functionality that's going to be a lot more complex. So for something like that, we're going to start building a custom bot for that.
Okay, so even a rudimentary version of that wouldn't necessarily be built using Google Sheets and Zapier to go out there and add new rows if the data wasn't already found.
Right. So, good night. So for that, we could start to build a rudimentary thing out, just like you said, where we could build out some rudimentary thing. The only issue that I have with that is to build that rudimentary thing. What we're going to be doing is it's going to be a pain in the ass to build that out, because we're going to have so many different spreadsheets, because with Zapier, we can't look up multiple rows. We can only look up a single row. So if we have, let's say we have this association spreadsheet that associates item 1 with item 2s that were ordered, right? Well, now we're going to have multiple. There is no Zap that we can do that will say, hey, I want you to look up from a spreadsheet where you match item 1 from this column and item 2 from this other column, because I want you to increment this third value. So we're not able to do that.
Right.
Through Zapier, whenever we look something up, we can only look up a value in one field. We can't say, I want you to match this value from here and also match this value from here and give me back that row. We can only match this value from here. Now, if this value here is our, steak item, and that's 15 times in this thing, Zapier is going to give us the very first instance that it finds. It's only going to give us one row back. So, so in order to do that, what we're going to have to do is that now brings us back.
You have to constantly be updating that one row, right? It would have to be updating that one row all the time. It would be like an incremental count every single time. So you'd only have one row per combination, and the total sum would simply be tallying one more item every time it gets selected by a user. We could do that. All right. We could do that if we conform to a standard convention. So we could do that if we conformed steak, margarita. Right. Total. All right. We could do that if we were like steak, probably the one that has a better combination, mojito. All right. So now right. if we conform to some standardization that all of these rows will be like this, then at that point we could do something similar to this. The only issue is still going to be, though, the only issue that I can see now still being in here is if we want to, now we got this guy, right? 3159, right? So now the issue is, one, I can still only look up one of these actual rows. So what I would need to actually do is I would need to have one action in my Zapier to get this guy, one action in my Zapier to get this guy. And then I would actually need to then run some custom code that would compare these two values and tell me which one is the best. And now this guy's going to get really, really hairy, because I'm going to keep adding in different guys that start with steak, right? And there's no way for me to get back all of these actual steak rows. I can't get them all back. I can only get back one row at a time. Huh. So I thought it would be similar to a lookup. Like above, you have the ManyChat IDs, right? So essentially what you have below with the steak margarita, that's a unique ID. Right. So I could look up steak margarita, and then in the right-hand column, either reference that number to post it, or add one to it if one more user happened to select it. But essentially, column A becomes the index. Right.
That you can do no problem, right? Right. Now, your issue comes back is whenever you want to make this recommendation engine, right? And this recommendation engine, you want to go in and say, okay, of all the combinations of item 1, item 2, I want to find the one that has the most value over here. Well, that we can't do. That we can't go in and actually, because we have no way to because essentially we would have something like this, right? Essentially we would have mojito, and this would be chicken wings, right? And so now we want to go in and say, okay, the dude ordered his steak. So I want to look up everything with the steak, get all that data back, and then I want to compare and find whichever one of these has the highest value. Then I want to return back to him and say, okay, you should get a mojito because that has the highest value. Well, that requires me to look up multiple rows, and I can't do that yet with Zapier.
Right. Okay. Again, I'm just trying to push the envelope a bit.
Well, it's good to push the envelope because when we do that, eventually we can go in and hopefully maybe find a solution by pushing that envelope. But we're really limited still with Zapier right now, but we could still rudimentary. We could still always go in and use that. We could still always go in and use that. We could use that MySQL. And that requires us to build our own database and store our own database, right? And we could do that, and that's where we start to offer our clients more advanced bots, more custom bots, and get ultimately more money from them. And that should be the case, obviously. If you want to do more advanced stuff, it's gonna require more work, which is gonna require more money.
Is there something else similar to? Again, I'm just trying to think of how we can best leverage some of this. So let's assume you come into my bot and I offer you a PDF. But as opposed to sending you to the link for the PDF, I want to give you a personalized link so that I can track you specifically and not just everyone who downloaded the PDF. So I'm not sure if that would have to involve using a third-party short link like Bitly or even Google, because I think they have an API. I'm not sure which one of those might be integrated with Zapier, but that might be a way where I'm going to send you a link, but the link is specific to you. So this way, when it triggers, I can easily tell who did and who did not actually take advantage of that specific content.
Well, we can build custom links already in Zapier. Okay, we can build custom links just by annex. Yeah, we can build custom links just by annexing data into the link itself. So. But to be able to really track, you're going to have something on the target site that's handling the tracking for you, essentially. So you could go into Zapier and right here, and you could say, hey, https website.com/download PDF ID equals this mini chat ID or this first name, right? Now, essentially, you've created a custom link because what will be output there is a custom link. But for this to actually do anything, you're obviously going to have something at website.com that is actually, doing some analytics with these and listening to this data where this data means something.
Right. Okay. Do you know offhand whether Google Analytics picks up variables at the end of the URL, or does it only pick up the URL itself?
Not sure.
Because usually they track everything from the domain on down, but I'm not sure if it picks up URLs. I'm not sure if it picks up variables or parameters.
I'm not sure. So that would be a
could be a nice simple at that point.
Yeah, and that would be a great question for the live speaker that's going to come in and talk about marketing. I think maybe that dude would be able to answer some of that stuff a lot better than me. Okay. I would think that they would, though, essentially, maybe. But then again, I don't know, but they probably do.
Okay, cool. And there isn't a way to have a group chat, correct? All these chats are individual one-on-one.
Correct.
Okay.
No way to have a group chat. There's no way even from this demo bot to add users here like there is in a normal chat. In a normal chat, you can just add a user, right? There's no way to do that from a business page. And Colin, you brought up a good point. So this guy would be able to return back the MySQL Zapier integration. This guy would be able to return back whatever the data is that you dumped off to him whenever he did a lookup. So whatever you're, I'm assuming we'd have to go back in and actually look at that and see what they're saying he can do. And his actions are searches, find row via custom query, find row. So it looks like here we can only actually use one, is what it looks like. We can only actually get one row back, but I've never actually used that before, and it's on my list of things to do. And so, but it still looks like, and Zapier's really known for that, is these one-off things where you can't do looping, you can't get back this multiple stuff. The only way you're going to get back this multiple stuff is through using like their web hooks or something like that. So now for this Zapier storage also kind of runs into the issue where we can't get multiple datas back from Zapier storage outside of a list. Okay, so outside of a list, we're not going to get multiple datas. Even if we use a key value pair, then we can store multiple key values in one piece of data. We can have multiple key values, but whenever we look those up, we're only going to be able to fetch one of those datas and not the entire guy, not like the entire list of those key value pairs.
Right.
So, and then for the list will return us back the whole list. But the list essentially is storing a text object. So for that list, what we would essentially end up having to do is have something like this, and then something like this to represent the value. And then this logic's going to get really, really hairy because we're going to have to write in some function to basically parse out that, convert this text. Good night, buddy. Convert this text to a number temporarily, increment that, store back in. That logic is going to look that's going to look really, really hairy. And then plus we're going to have to do some even crazier stuff and go in and get all this list data back from Zapier, which they're going to dump us off one text object. We're going to have to go in and parse each one. And then we're going to have to go in and do the same thing, get rid of this, temporarily parse this to a number so that we can do some mathematical conversions on a number, then finally make a conversion, which that logic's also going to be. At that point, by the time I implement all that garbage in Zapier and figure out a way to engineer it in Zapier, at that point, I could have done it already with my custom bot. It probably would have taken more time to have an engineer go in and just build the custom bot than trying to find a workaround. And plus, I'd rather, honestly, from my perspective in a business, is if I need a custom bot to do this, guess what? Even if there is a way in Zapier to get it to work, I'm going to try to sell my client that custom bot because one, it's more money for me.
Sure.
And two, now my next client, when they need the same shit done, I've already got it done for them because the last client paid to have it done. So now I can charge the next guy the same price or even a higher price because I can show him the other guy as a reference and say, hey, I already done it for that guy. And, I just inflate the price set because now it doesn't matter. I mean, I did it for that guy for $1,000. I can tell my next client, hey, I already did it for that guy. He paid me $5,000 for it. So I can cut you a deal and give it to you for $3,000 because I've already done some of the stuff. It won't take me as long and essentially get three times the amount and not have to do any real work because I already did it for the last guy. So that's what I would opt in for, is just build it custom, convince that guy it needs to be done custom.
Yeah, I mean, the first project is really client-funded R&D.
That's how it is for the most part. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks, John.
No problem. So what else, guys? I think that, Craig, you left, I'm pretty sure, right? And you were saying goodbye. Colin, I think I answered that question. You gave some link here to, so maybe, Dennis, this would be something that you could check out that basically is, I guess, something that's telling you about custom fields and stuff inside your links. I'm not sure about that. Are you leaving too? Is that what you came to say? Good night, I'm leaving. You sure you don't want to stay and do some more work? Well, stay. All right, buddy. See you then. See you tomorrow, buddy. So anything else? Anything else you guys want to see? You guys want to go over while we're here? Anything else you guys want to go over while you're here?
And I appreciate everything that we've been going over so far. It's fantastic. I've been observing and listening and taking notes. I didn't realize it was so dark where it is, where you were at.
Yeah, it's a little bit past midnight here, but I work on an Eastern schedule myself. I'm not in an Eastern time zone, but I work on an Eastern schedule because my clients basically pay me to be outside the country and to interface with the country that does their work for them. So that's what I do, and it's 2 p.m. like my internal clock time. So
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what else to ask or suggest, and I don't hear anybody else piping up. Do you have any suggestions yourself?
are you asking me if I have any suggestions for what?
Yeah, like I don't know, because we're going noob to ninja, my friend, and I'm a noob and I don't even know what's best for me at this moment.
Okay. So for that, to really best answer that question,
Mhm.
that then for that, like I would tell anybody in sales, is I can't tell you anything what's going to be best until we talk for some time. Because if I try to tell you
Right.
what's best right now and I don't know anything about you, what you're trying to do, your ambitions, what your business is trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, then whatever I tell you doesn't mean jack shit, because how could I give you an explanation of what's best for you if I know nothing about you? So for that, we just need to spend a little bit of time talking. So to get started on that, because like you said, no one else is typing things in the box. No one else is
Right.
using their mic. So if you're the only person that wants to take advantage of my time, then that's fine. We can talk about that. So the first thing I'd want you to do is just put the link to your Facebook page and where your bot's at down there in the comments. So, or down here in this little group chat, so I can actually check it out.
Oh, it's a different platform than this. I don't have a decent one to send you in this platform yet.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what platform you're using. So it doesn't matter what platform. It doesn't matter what platform you're using at all.
Okay.
And yeah, I can show you this just in a second. And what I can show you, Elisa, is how to give somebody a one-time use coupon. And I can show you how to see in the bot how many times you've delivered a coupon to them. Now, how to physically check how many times they physically use that coupon, that's going to be something that happens externally offsite wherever they're actually using the coupon at. So I can show you inside the bot. Are you leaving? I can show you inside the bot. Even my wife's leaving me now. She doesn't want to stay anymore. Everybody else is leaving. Even my wife's leaving me now. So she's even going to take my monkey with her. So I can show you inside the bot. Yes, I can show you inside the bot how many times you've delivered it to them. So that I can show you. And that's a pretty straightforward thing. Where you just go inside this bot go in and look at some coupon. I think this 15% off coupon will do the trick. So we just have a custom field called coupons delivered, and we increase it by 1 here. And then, so you see that what happens is a user gives a message 15% off coupon. And the first thing we do is we have a conditional check. And we check to see this coupon's delivered if it's less than 1. If it's less than 1, then that means I've delivered it to them 0 times. It has to be that, or a negative number. So then I'll continue on this flow and say, yeah, sure, I'll give you a coupon. If it's not, if it's 1 or greater, means I've already given this guy some coupons, then I'm just going to say, sorry, I've already given you enough coupons. And then I just need to make sure that somewhere in my process, I'm going in and augmenting this number and increasing this number, increasing this variable by 1 or however many coupons I'm delivering to this person.
Hey, John, the next, what you're about to do, start doing the client analysis piece, essentially, with one of the people who are in the chat right now. That'll be very helpful overall, because I think a lot of us who are going to be thinking about running agencies can benefit from being a fly in the wall as you go through one of those analysis sessions and knowing how to best identify what the customer needs to tell us so we can help them. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, and to answer your question, Austin, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question on how to pitch clients, because I whenever we build, I build for my current clients. So my current client base are already hiring my engineers. They're already have engaged contracts with. So whenever I sell bots, it's not like I'm just out there, calling people on the phone or just approaching people. It's just, I have a client base already that I've built over my life as a professional engineer. And I started this company 3.5 years ago. I started this overseas office a little bit over 2 years ago. And I already have a client base that have just been working with me for a long time. And to those guys, my word is gold. To those guys, I pick up the phone, and any of my clients that say, hey, you need me to build you a bot, I'm going to charge you $20K to build that bot. I'm going to deliver it to you in 3 months. They're just going to say, okay, John. Or they're going to say, well, John, I don't have that much money. Can I work out some payment with you? And then it goes from there, because they've already been working with me. I'm already saving them. I mean, these guys are hiring my engineers at $2K a pop per month, and they're paying their in-house engineers $2K per week, right? So now they're going and they're getting 4 engineers for the same price, and literally still even a lower price, because they're not having to pay all this administrative overhead and stuff that they have to pay to employ theirs. Their $2K a pop a week is just raw salary, whereas they still have to pay all this other stuff that they don't have to pay my guys, because they're contracting my guys out. So my word's already gold to these guys. So whenever I engage in pitching something to a client, I don't really have to pitch them. I just have to say, hey, you need this shit, so I'm going to build it for you, and you're going to pay this much. And then they're just pretty much like, okay. Or they're like, well, I can't really afford that. So, but if I didn't have that list, then what I would obviously do is I would do a little bit of research. First thing I would do is let's say I want to sell some restaurant bot. Okay. So I'm just going to go do this search right here, right? Do this search right here. Let's say I want to do these guys in Scottsburg, Indiana. And I want to find pages for restaurants in Scottsburg, Indiana. So now I just found those guys. And that's not what I wanted to do, but that is essentially what I wanted to do. So thank you for that. And then I'm going to do this. So now I've got this, right? Now I looked on Facebook. I got a whole list of restaurants in Scottsburg, Indiana. Also looked on Google and got a whole list of restaurants in Scottsburg, Indiana. So I can go in and begin to correlate these guys. Let's say Jindy Pizzeria here. And let's say I can come in here somewhere and hopefully find Gendy's Pizzeria here. So now I can come look at their website. Now I can come in hopefully on these guys' website. I will see some, they don't even link to their, oh yeah, they do. They have a really stupid textual link on their website that most people aren't going to see. So there was that guy and there is this guy. So these guys are, these guys are two different guys. So I could probably call these guys up and make some money from them because I can easily see what are you guys doing here. You guys have this web page. On your web page, you link to this one page here. But in Facebook, whenever I find you, I find this complete other page here. You got some 670 people over here. You got some 2535 people over here. Is this actually you? I mean, is this the same thing? What's going on here? So I need to find out a little bit of what's going on here to make sure that these guys are the actual place. And these aren't, so I can tell that these guys probably aren't because this guy is saying that he's in Hanover, Indiana there, and this guy is saying that he doesn't even give me, but he says it's a pizza place in Scottsburg, Indiana. So now I can go in. Now I found my little target guy, and see, I've already done that before to him, right? I've already sent him some messages, but that's what I would do to this guy. Is I know this guy's on my schedule. I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk to him next week, right? I've got him on my schedule next week where I'm going to go in and talk to him. So I'm just going to go in and send him some messages. So I'm going to go in and send him some messages, and then that's it. Now I'm going to go away. Maybe I'll do a little bit of R&D and try to find some pizza guys that are using bots, and I could do that right inside my phone, just on my. I could look and see I could go in and actually look and see other bots that Facebook's actually recommending and try to find one that is a pizza guy. I know that Domino's is actually using one. So I'm going to try to find a target bot that is physically in use. Now, if it's a client bot, then I'll use one of my client bots as long as I don't have an NDA signed for that guy, because if I have an NDA signed for that guy, then I'm not allowed to go in and talk about it, and I'm not allowed to go in and show it to other people. And if I do that, then I'm not really a man of my word. Somebody can sue me, and then that's going to make everything that I'll do a lot less valuable. So I'm just not going to do that. So I'm going to try to find some ideal target company that matches this guy, that is a pizzeria or is something else that's very similar to this guy that is using a bot, and see how they're actually using a bot. I'm going to come with some actual demo bot. I'm probably going to go into my demo bot that I have, let's say, for this niche, and make a couple flows that are specific to this guy, so that I can go in prepared with them. And I'm going to probably do this for a couple days. I'm going to go in and send him a couple messages, just have him on my list of a to-do list of things I need to do, go in and follow up with this guy and see, did he ever send me any messages back? Did he ever, if he did, how long did it take him, et cetera, et cetera. That way, whenever I walk in to talk to him, I've got a demo bot that I can show him that's pre-populated with some of his content that he's really going to like, because it's his content and he sees his content, his name, his pizzas, his menu, and he really likes that stuff. It's easier for him to sell. It's easier for me to sell him his own content because it's his content. He's already sold on it because he's already either written them himself, or he's already bought it, or he's got it broadcasted on his website or on his Facebook page. So obviously he must be liking it. So I'm going to pre-populate my demo bot with some of his content. That's why I always recommend you guys, whenever you go in and create these pieces of content, you always start here, because now if you have some demo restaurant bot and you have some menu, right? What do you link your menu to? Where you're linking it to a generic piece of content. So now you can easily go in and find, hey, I want to find this pizzeria content versus I want to find this burger menu, right? There's a burger menu. I'm going to go do my presentation to this burger guy. So let me just take 10 minutes and update my bot and link these pieces of content from my pizza menu to my burger menu, so that whenever I show it to this guy, it makes makes more sense for him. I could even go in and have a specific content just for this business. And now I can spend a little bit of my time, but if you guys want to make good money and you really want to attract the ideal clients, you're going to have to spend some time. You're going to have to do an initial time investment and create some value to get that guy to pay you the value that you're actually worth and to make your sale so much easier. If you don't do that, then it's going to be so much harder for you. And then the clients that you do get aren't going to be giving you the same type of value, and they're not going to be paying you as much as the guys that you go in and first invest some time in. So I'm going to go and invest my time up front because I want an ROI. I want a return on my investment. And what's my ROI if I have zero investment? Well, it's zero, right? I get no return if I have no actual investment. So I'm going to give my time as an investment, just like I'm doing with you guys. So I'll go in, create some generic pieces of content specific for this guy, and then I'll go spend a little bit of time and I'll change the flow of my bot to reference the burger content to the Gendy's pizza content. Now my demo bot is all set up with his content. I've got a target competitor, maybe not in his area, right? Because I definitely don't want to come in and say, hey, I just built a bot for this guy over here. And he's a pizza place and does the same thing, because that will probably turn this guy off, because he's like, oh yeah, so you're working with my direct competitor, so you're going to share my secrets with him. So he's probably not going to like that. So if I can find a target business somewhere outside of his service area that is not his direct competitor whatsoever, because they're completely different service areas, and show him, hey, he's using the same thing. And why is he using the same thing? Because he's realizing it. So I'm going to have that in hand. I'm going to have the generic contents. And plus, I'm going to have a record of, hey, dude, I've been sending you messages for the last 4 days trying to report a bad experience. You haven't even, maybe I'm trying to report a good experience. I've been asking you, what time you open, because I want to come. I've been asking you if I can book a party there, because I literally have a party of 30 that I'm trying to reserve a spot for. You haven't replied to me. I've been waiting 4 days. So guess what I did? I've contacted this other restaurant and I just booked with them. Why aren't you replying to me? So now I can go and easily show him, why do you need that? Because you could have physically notified yourself. A lot of business owners, you'd be surprised, a lot of business owners don't even really understand that their pages can receive messages, and that they need to go to their page, and on their page they need to go to this little inbox tab and reply to these messages, because they just don't understand technology. They don't understand social media. So a lot of these messages go in and apply. So I would do all those things. I would do some work so that whenever I go in and pitch to this guy, and whenever I go in and show this guy is going to be able to see a live example with his content, which he's going to like more. He's going to see some competitor in his field that's using this, and he's going to be able to test it out and see on his own. And what most people in businesses do, whenever they see their competitors actually doing something, they want to try to do the same thing, because they're thinking, hey, that's my competitor. If he's doing that, then I should probably be doing that too, because he's probably doing that for a good reason. And then I'm going to have some information in hand like this, like, hey, I've been trying to message you. You haven't responded to me, or you did respond to me. How much of your time did your time? Because I'll literally go, and if this guy starts responding to me, I'll tie his time up for an hour. I'll talk to him for an hour right here, and I'll ask him a bunch of general questions that I know for a fact that we can resolve and we can answer in the bot. Because now whenever I go in and talk to him, I'll just talk to him. Remember that conversation you had with me? How much time did you spend? We sit there for an hour talking. So I spent an hour of your time. What could you have done in that hour? How many other people are asking you this question? Well, maybe not a lot, because you're not driving people to your messenger, which you should be, because you ultimately want to be growing your list. You're not doing that. Well, let's get you actually set up to do that. Now I can easily reference, dude, we spent an hour talking. That's an hour of your time. So why not? I can show you literally that I can go in and set a bot up in 2 hours, right? In 2 hours, I can set that bot up to reply to all these questions easily, save you an hour of your time per customer that comes in and wants to have that conversation with you. That's going to save you a lot of time. He's probably going to be sold on that deal. But that's why I said, Austin, I'm probably not I'm probably not the best guy to tell you how I pitch clients, because my clients, by the time I'm pitching my client, they're already my client. And we as a company, we don't like try to pitch people on bots, and we don't try to sell bots as a service. What we sell as a service are engineers. I sell engineers. I don't sell websites. I don't sell mobile applications. I sell engineers, their time. So if you have anything that needs to be done by a software engineer, then my engineer can do that, and I'll sell you that guy. As far as sell a website or sell a mobile application, I will sell you a resource that's capable of producing a website, or capable of building a bot, or capable of building some mobile application. I'm selling you that resource and their actual time, not what they're actually going to do, because that's so generic and that's so mutatable. They can do whatever it is that you actually want them to do. So I don't just sit and try to pitch clients and say, hey, I want to sell you a bot. Let me sell you a bot. My clients come to me because they need an engineer. Specifically, they come to me because they want to outsource their current engineers, because they want to hire another engineer, and they want to get a huge value savings by hiring an engineer in a country where the cost per resource over there is much lower than their country, due to economic principles called economies of scale. So for that, they don't want to trust some foreign company. They want to trust a US-based company that they can actually go into a legal battle with if they get into some issues. And they also want to have a level of oversight from a Westerner that they can relate to in that process. So for that, they basically come to me, because that's what I do. I'm in the mix of it. I live in a foreign country. I come to work every day. I spend 14, 16 hours at an office every day managing the guys that ultimately work for other software firms. So for me to pitch somebody, it's not really hard to do that, because I already have a huge trust built up and a huge rapport built up with these clients. But for you guys to do it, you would do something really similar. I mean, you're going to have to go through. Yeah. I mean, if you want to pitch anybody, you need to do some research on them. If you go in and try to pitch somebody and you don't know nothing about them, you don't know what their website is or what it is that they do, and you don't know any information about them, can you still make the sale? Yeah, sure. If you're a great salesman, yeah, sure, you can make the sale. How easy is it going to be? Well, it's going to be proportionally much harder for you to make a sale if this guy is asking you questions about his company, and good night, sweetie. I love you too. I'll see you later. If you don't know anything about his business, if you don't know anything about him or his business, then it's going to be much harder for you to make that sale. So you better just spend some time, do some research, read his website, look over his website, give this guy some of your time, so that now whenever you go in and try to pitch him, he can understand that you bring value to the table, because you have already brought some with you in the form of a time investment that you've spent. So go in, and definitely whenever you go in and try to pitch a client, you just don't go in and say, hey, look, I'm going to sell you a bot. I got this bot. Bots are cool. Let me tell you why you need one. Okay. Even if you know why the guy needs one, don't walk in and say, let me tell you why you need one. First thing, like I would do with I do the same thing with new clients. Whenever I bring on new clients, is I'm just going to kind of shut up, and I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to ask some probing questions, and I'm going to let you talk. And whenever you stop talking, I'm going to ask you another probing question to try to get more information from you and let you talk some more. And I'm going to continue that until I can see that you're starting to get real anxious and you're not wanting to talk anymore. Then we're going to schedule another chat for another day, because I don't want to try to sell you anything really until you're real eager to buy it. And if you don't get eager to buy it on your own, and I have to push you into that eagerness, I want to make sure that I have given you enough value. And if I haven't given value, I want you to create that value yourself by investing your time with me. The more time I can get you to invest with me, instantly, man, I'm getting value, because you must be valuing that time. So it's creating a value for me. So I'm going to tell you to do the same thing. You walk into that guy, even if you know exactly why he needs this bot, don't just tell him, hey, I got a bot for you. This is why you need it. Unless you can realize really quickly by talking to this guy that this guy is not, he's one of the few people that he doesn't want to talk. He wants you to go straight to the point, no bullshit, cut everything else. If you realize that that guy, then you need to do just that. But that's that's probably only 20-25% of the people that you meet are ever going to be like that, where they are just real no bullshit, straight to the chase, and they're just like, what's your sales pitch? Just tell me what your sales pitch is. I'll make a decision and we'll move on from there. So whenever you meet that guy, then you just adapt, you do that, or girl, because some of those people are girls as well. Other than that, you need to first spend some time with these people, even if you know exactly what you're going to sell to them, exactly why they need your service. You need to make them realize that without you telling them that. So in order to do that, you need to extract information from them. You need to get them talking. One, because you want them to invest that time to create a value. And two, now you need to be able to go in and say, this service will solve this issue. I won't assume that you have this issue. I'm not going to make that assumption that you have this issue, even if I know, 70% of all businesses in this niche have this issue. I won't assume that you have it. I'm going to first let you tell me that you have this issue. Now, once you've self-identified this issue, I'm going to say, remember this little issue that you said you had? This service right here will solve that issue. So that issue will go away. And remember, you identified all these little issues that you had. Well, this service will consume all these other issues, and those will just go away. And that makes your pitch so much easier. So hopefully that was helpful. If not, then ask a sales guy, man, because I'm an engineer, ultimately is what I am. I'm an engineer, so I just engineer stuff.
John, I think it's helpful overall because from what you're describing, you got to probe, get an idea as to what really their issues are, and then just be persistent and patient and not try to rush to selling something right out of the gate.
Yeah, who are you going to buy from? I mean, who are you going to buy from? You go to a car lot, you go to 3 different car lots. Who are you going to buy from? The guy that's really, really pushy and he's like, buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my car, buy my car, or the guy that's a lot more patient and he's just he gives a appearance and the impression that he does value you and he does want your business and he does want your sale, but only when you're ready to give it to him. You obviously don't want to take the approach like, hey, I don't care about you. I don't care about your sale. I don't actually need your business and I'm not excited and interested in that. So you definitely don't want to give off that vibe. You want to give off the vibe that you are really excited in them as a client. You're excited to work with them. You're excited about, a new business relationship and taking them as a client, but only when they're ready. Only if that's what they want. You don't want to try to push them in and try to pressure them, especially not from the get-go. Now, at some point, you may have to do that. At some point, you may have to do that once your time expenditure starts to grow and you realize that I'm sinking a lot of my own personal investment in and I'm not getting anything back. At some point, you may need to push them into that, hey, it's do or die time to make a decision. Do you want to go with this or am I just literally wasting my time with you? But hopefully you won't have to do that. I believe if you give enough value in what you're doing in that initial investment, if you give enough value, those that are capable and able to actually pay and consume your services, they will just consume your services. So, Austin, you said one of the things you were struggling with was a restaurant feature for booking a reservation within Messenger. How would you do that without double booking reservations? So if you don't want to double book reservations, so first you need to know what is your booking engine that you're actually going to use. So I believe here, if we were actually to go and make a zap and look in Google Calendar if we're going to use Google Calendar as our booking engine, I believe even as a filter, or maybe not as a filter, but as an action, and we're going to have a search step in Google Calendar. And I think that we can look up a event by time. So the search term is actually required. This start time is optional. for the search term. So that doesn't really seem like it would be a good option. So that question, Austin, to answer that question, that would be something I'd want to table and then actually go in and looking to see what would be the best way to actually do that and then come back to that. But it seems like the easiest route is just going to be able to is just use some booking service and then just link in a URL that is going to be rendered as a web view inside their Messenger app, and they're just kind of on that guy, and when they close it, they'll go back into Messenger. Some people, they don't like that approach because they feel, oh, I'm getting people outside of Messenger, but keep in mind that everything else these guys are doing is outside of Messenger. So these guys live outside of Messenger. So it's not a huge issue to send them outside of Messenger, especially when going that route will save yourself a significant amount of complexities and time and setup. So there's nothing wrong if you use Calendly or if you use even Google, if you send them to some outside link that will show them slots available that they could actually book this thing. And it's probably going to be, and that option is probably even going to be more user-friendly for your user if they can go in and see what times are actually available and then just click to book. That way they don't have to say, hey, I want to book on this time, and then they go through the process and you return back to them and say, no, sorry, that slot's taken. And they say, okay, I want to book at this time, and then you continuously do them, say, hey, no, that slot's taken. You do that 3 times, and then they're just going to be screw off. I'm not going to book with you because I don't know what's available, what's not available. So the best route and the easiest route is just going to be to pipe them off to some booking page. But if you guys could just figure out anything else that you want and put it inside this comments, and then just maybe give me some 30 seconds and just let me use the restroom real quick. So guys, did you figure out anything else? I do think that's the best solution for now, Austin. And it's going to be the easiest to reproduce over and over, and it's definitely going to be the easiest for you, probably the most user friendly. So you're thinking you're going to close venue, music club, culture center client soon. At least I hope to. How could I, at any given time, show the next 10 upcoming events? Well, there's several options that you could do for that. The easiest option that I would say, if this guy is your client, the easiest option I would say, the easiest option that it sounds like for me is, what I would say is I would go in and create some content called upcoming events. So create that content, upcoming events. Then add some card. This guy can hold up to 10 events, by the way. So this card guy can hold up to 10 different cards here. So I would create this guy called upcoming events, and then I would just tell my client to deliver me his 10 upcoming events, and I would give him some terms and say, hey, I'll update this X amount of times per week or X amount of time per month per X amount of dollars. If you go outside of that, then your next tier is going to be X. I would calculate that based on some, if it was me, I would calculate that based on some Fibonacci sequence function, where I would assume the lowest amount of time that I'm going to have in updating these events and the highest amount of time that I'm going to have. And then I'm going to pick the medium and say, hey, you're going to pay me this amount to be able to run these updates. And then I would just go in every so often. He's going to give me new events, and I'm going to go into this piece of content and update it. And then it will just be magically updated in my bots anytime a user puts the keyword update upcoming events. That would be the easiest way. Now you have other ways. You have other ways. Those other ways. Right now, I'm trying to get ManyChat to introduce the. I'm trying to get ManyChat to introduce the concept of a global variable that they don't have yet. So I'm trying to get them to introduce the concept of global variable that would make this thing really, really easily. So for that, I'm just going to come in here. And put in this. Let me come in here and put this in right here. And I'm just going to grab a snippet of this guy right here and put this guy in right here. And this is the real reason that I really recommend the ManyChat platform over any other platform. I've used most platforms, and ManyChat is the only platform that I've been able to interact directly with the CEO of the company, directly with the marketing manager of the company, directly with the developers. I've got their development team as a group chat where I can just go in and literally I can go in and request a feature. And I've done this before. I've went in and just said, hey, you know, I'd love for you guys to build this feature. And then guess what? A week later, they're like, hey, John, remember that thing that you asked us to build? It's built. You can see it. And that is great. That is very hard to find in a software company. We do it as a software company. We have our own softwares that I could give you, if this is what that was about. I could give you all this marketing content about all the softwares that we have and why you should use them and why you should pay to actually use them. And that's one of the things I would tell you why you should pay to use our software, because as a user, if you say, hey, we want this feature, we'll just go in and build it for you, because we realize if we build that feature for you, you'll probably pay us more money for the same stuff you're already paying us for. Probably everybody else will like that feature as well, and it will really retain you as a client. So I'm just going to go in and do that. So now I'm just going to give them your data so that they could see this. So your other option, one option was you could just go in like this and create this upcoming event. Okay, that could be one option, and you could just go in and manually change this. If you want to automate this a little bit, you could easily automate this a little bit to come in and let's say this would reference event 1. Okay, we'll just call that email, but this would be event 1. This would reference event 1. And then event 1 you would get by piping it into Zapier. Somebody would go in and it would look like this. Someone would go in and trigger that keyword. You would have some zap that you would go in and do that zap first. And let's say that zap would be get upcoming events. And then you would have, and the only reason I don't like this is because this is just creating a bunch of data, a bunch of redundant data, which doesn't conform to a normalized database schema. But here, every user could have event one title, event one description, event one time, right? And those values would be set by this zap right here. This zap could go in and grab from some Google Sheet and set these values here. So you could just tell your client, hey, just update this Google Sheet. And as this Google Sheet is actually updated, well, not as it's updated, but they just update it. And then every time somebody triggers this keyword, upcoming events, the first thing that happens is we go out to Zapier. Zapier grabs the latest list of 10 events, pushes those back down to the user's custom fields, and then now these cards are automatically populated with those next events. If these guys would go in and do what I asked them for, which I'll send them a link to this video later so that they'll understand exactly, but if they would do what I asked them for and create these global variables, that would solve the purpose. It wouldn't consume a whole bunch of zaps, which it will the other way. If I've got 10,000 subscribers and everyone wants them to get those notifications, that's going to cost me 10,000 zaps, where I could essentially do it. If I've got 10 events, I could essentially just do it with just 10 zaps if I could save it to a custom variable. So that's why I say your easiest route, I would think your real easiest route is just have this one piece of content, upcoming events, and you just go in. And I'm not going to say manually do that yourself. I'm going to say, hey, get you, maybe at first do it yourself, but then hire you a VA. Even I can give you a VA that's a software engineer that has a degree in computer engineering for $600 a month. I can give you a VA for that. Is literally, they're fresher. I hire freshers all the time straight out of college, and I train them in a development process for 6 months before I allow them to actually work for somebody. So during that 6 months, I could have them as your VA where they could go in and do really, really simple stuff here. And at that rate, 600, I'm not a human calculator, so I'd have to go in and calculate that. 600 divided by 140, you're looking at $428 an hour to have a VA. And you could obviously get one even cheaper than that. If you go in and want to hire some VA that's a non-engineer, you could find those guys on Upwork or something for, let's say, some $300, and you could just train them and teach them, hey, you need to go in here, you need to update this whenever you get this email or something like that. But this would be your easiest way, I think, and that should work. It's not quite automated, but it should do the trick for what you need, and it's not super time consuming. No problem, D. Hopefully you signed up for the training, because in the training you can listen to me for 35 hours. So, because that's how long the training will be.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, D. Have a great day.
You too.
So what else, guys? Anything else you guys want to go over or see while we're on this session? Anything at all? Anything, guys? You got anything else that you want to go over? Anything else that I could tell you? Want any information to get outside of my brain into your brain? You want me to show you how to do anything else?
a great session, John, as usual.
Thanks, Dennis. I try, man.
How many more do you think you have coming up before the actual scheduled training?
So I'll do these every day until this training starts. So we've got 4 more days until the actual training starts. So the training starts on the 2nd. I'll do 4 more before the actual training starts. The training starts in 4 days, so I'll do them Tuesday. I'll probably do another 1 or 2 training sessions today. If there's more people that are actually wanting to do more training sessions, I'll probably do another 2 more today, because that will put today at 5, and that will give people like you, Dennis, who have taken action and give me a little bit of money. That will give you guys some good content to go inside. So that makes those people happy. And then it gives me time to actually go in and figure out, because literally what I'm doing with all this is, if you guys don't understand, I'm actually creating something that all these marketers have told me for a long time that I need to create, that I haven't had time. And I'm using you guys literally to go in and actually create those pieces of content, because now every single thing, I can go in and actually find patterns in each one of these training sessions where there's really common topics people want to see. People want to see this and that. So now I can put together a training course that, let's say, is some $200 that has all of these generic pieces of content that everybody's asked, that walks you through and gives you this master all this stuff that you need to learn really quick. So I'll probably do like 1 or 2 more today, and then I'll do at least 2 tomorrow. I'll do at least 8 more, because I'll do 2 a day for the next 4 days. So I'll do at least 8 more. But realistically, if I do 5 a day, then I would think that would be a great use of my time if I do 5 a day, because I mean, as the boss, I don't really have anything that I really have to do, unless the only real responsibility that I have is to go in and find new clients if I want new clients.
Right.
Necessarily. I don't necessarily. There's no one else that does that for our company. So I started this company by myself I had no investment whatsoever. Whenever I started this company, I started it from the ground up all by myself. Every single client, I've went and got every single client. And so if I need to go in and get new clients, then I'll get new clients. But just today, one of my clients, and we're actually working on, it's this guy right here. His name's Dino. We're working on 3 different projects for him at the same time. It's this T-City. So he just asked me today if he could buy 2 more of my developers. So I don't really need to go in and get another client, because he's going to hire 2 more guys from me. So there's nothing else for me to really do but to go in and actually get new clients. I've already had like 3 people just from these training sessions that have been really, really interested and want to engage and actually hire my engineers. So probably by the end of these training sessions, I'll have a couple new clients just from these training sessions. So I don't have any real responsibility. As a good business guy, all my responsibility, I just hire somebody to do all that. And then I just spend a minimal amount of time making sure that they're actually doing that with their time. So ideally, if I could do 4 or 5 a day, that's great for me. So if I can get it, but I'm not going to do that vainly, right? It will be really dumb for me. Like you've seen today, we had up to 20 people on this, and literally I've had maybe 3 or 4 people actually engage in some stuff. So if I do a training session with 3 people and no one's putting stuff in the box and no one's asking me questions, then what's the point of me doing that training session? So if people are engaging, then I'll keep going in and making them. So if I could do 4 or 5 a day, that would be great. So that would be like a total of 20 more sessions before the actual training starts. So I'll literally do as many as you guys want for the most part.
Okay, cool. Considering you have some folks out there, maybe even some VAs, not fully engineers, but the content you've already gone through, which is obviously quite a big library at this point, so it's a huge asset. If there was any way to index that, so in other words, day 1, session 1, whatever topics were touched on, and the time codes for that. So, like, if someone wants to look at your 100 pieces of content, one of us who's actually paid for the monthly subscription, we can see how many sessions you've done and basically how many hours it adds up to. But I'm looking for a thread. I'm looking to say, okay, where are all the times that you talked about topic X? And I can just, through that listing, essentially go and and find those pieces. Because I don't know if any people will necessarily be able to listen to all the content. And if they do,
Right.
they're going to miss out on those pieces. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And if they don't want to listen to all the content, then they're going to miss out on some stuff. If they do want to listen to the content, then they need to be they need to be prepared to invest a good amount of their time, because these training sessions are always at least 1 hour, sometimes they're 3 hours, and right now there's like 22 sessions, so you need to give a lot of your time. So for that, I will create that, Dennis. I've got a guy that works for me. He's one of the 3 people that work for me that doesn't hold an engineering degree. Two of the people are like that guy Topos that brought my coffee for me, and he goes out and gets my cigarettes or my food. And then Jack's the only other guy that works for me that doesn't have an engineering degree. So he does some business development stuff, and he's basically in charge of getting clients into our company that don't need to talk to me or don't need to see my face or don't need to know me. They're completely comfortable interfacing with the non-American side of our company, interfacing directly with the Indian aspect. So I'm going to employ him, and I'm just going to say, hey, you need to go through this content, and you need to go through and actually create exactly what you just did. That way, now let's say you want to find out about a comment tool or a ref URL, or you want to find out about scheduling an appointment. Well, now if you're a page user, you're going to go into that content block, and one of the first things that I'll do is I'll go in and give you that index and say, hey, here's a generic demo that shows you how to do that. And plus, since you're a premium member, then here I'll show you in this session at this time, in this session at this time, at this session and this time, we talked about all that.
Yeah.
So the only way to create that is to have a person.
Yeah, exactly. But actually, the person doesn't even have to go through it in minute detail, right? Just broad strokes. We touched on restaurants between starting at a time block 1 minute and 5 seconds, whatever it might be. Because the person who's interested might just say, look, I want to know how to run my X business. And if you're talking about that kind of a business or that kind of a structure, they'll be able to follow the thread across your multiple days.
Right.
Because sometimes some people ask you the same question, correct? You might have to repeat the same things in your trainings.
Right.
But you do have a lot of massive nuggets in there.
Right.
And if people kind of don't quite know where it is, they won't be able to really leverage the value that you're delivering.
Right. And unless they go in and consume the entire content, which is going to take a large amount of time. Right. So I will go in and have him build that out. He would have already been building that out already, but literally what we're doing right now is we're going and we're moving our offices. We're going from some 1,300 square feet to some 3,400 square feet. And to do that,
you mentioned that.
The office that we have right now is a pre-furnished office. So we got the office with all the workstations and stuff already in place. The new office would be obviously 3 times more expensive if I go with pre-furnished. So we're getting basically a bare office with no furniture, because it only increases my cost 30%. But for that, I have to go in and build all the furniture, get all the furniture. So I've had him run into different furniture manufacturers and looking through their catalogs and basically getting price indexes for what they're gonna charge to go in and build the furniture and install all the workstations and everything in the office. So I just had him a little busy with that, but that will all be finalized by the end of this week. And so will all the pre-sessions. So I'll have him coming in. I'll just have him come in on Saturdays when I'm giving the training and just make him do that stuff on Saturdays.
Okay. I sent you a message earlier having to do with the Facebook updates to the terms of service.
I saw that.
Essentially what it comes down to, it looks like, is they're limiting who can use a subscription type of environment, where, in other words, you signed up today, I can send you a message out in 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, like an email sequence. They seem to be limiting that now to only 3 types of use cases, where either you have a productivity tool where I'm using it to manage my schedule or something like that, in which case then, I need to receive messages ongoing, and they'll permit that. But even then, they have to review your bot and they have to approve it. The other would be where it's a health-related situation, where it's monitoring something about me, health, wellness, something along those lines. Or if you're actually doing news, where you need to be able to publish timely information because you're actually broadcasting news-related content. Outside of that, they seem to be saying you can only really send something back out within a 24-hour period, but not again unless the user comes and interacts with you first again. So they seem to really have clamped down on that. I guess in my sense is they're trying to avoid what's happening with email, where people, look at a lot of email as spam, and I think they're trying to be proactive. We don't want Messenger to turn into a spam scenario where everyone's publishing everything and just pushing it out. But that seems to be what they've done right now. I don't know when they're going to change it again, but that's what they seem to have published in their terms of service document. So I'm assuming that's going to change things for marketers somewhat, because now that what was initially a big advantage, obviously, was the high open rates, right? Where if I have you my sequence, you can open my message a lot more likely than email. But now if I can't do a sequence beyond the 24 hours, then it changes the marketing approach somewhat.
Definitely does there. The only feedback that I would really, and I see what you're talking about, is where they're mentioning this right here. The only feedback that I would really say about that is Facebook, for the most part, they don't really abide by these TOSs unless people start reporting you. Once they start reporting you, then they go in and actually start looking at these guys and cracking down. And I would say for the most part right now, at least for the next year, you're fair game to do whatever you want. Even you want to send out promotional broadcasts in a subscription, you're fair game to do that. I would say for the most part right now, you can do whatever the hell you want in Messenger platform. Because what Facebook is looking for is they're looking for what is just made them awesome. It's the same thing that's made Zap. Why are these guys so popular? Zapier is so popular because they had the rest of the world going and pre-populate their stuff, right? They had all these other companies go in and build out their applications, and now they're popular. That's the same thing that Facebook is doing. They want people building bots. They don't care if they conform to TOS or not. They want people building bots. They want as many bots as possible to flood their market so that then they can go in and cherry pick and at some later date go in and weed stuff out. So I would say for at least a year, where probably everybody is going to be the wild, wild west, we could really do whatever we want. But they're going to protect themselves and give something like wherever they're going to give something like that, so that whenever people go in and let's say they spam your bot and they say, hey, this bot's spamming
they can shut them down.
Right. They can go in and just reference and say, hey, well, we took your bot offline because we clearly mentioned in our terms of services that you can't do that. But even from an engineering perspective, you could go in and you could make your bot can easily, it seems like these two guys right here and this guy right here, it seems like any bot you could go in and make. I mean, any bot you could go in and make. I mean, what's your bot going to do? Your bot's for a gym. So allow for this news, right? And in this, allow for this news and sports and fitness, right? Your bot's for a restaurant, allow for this news and food, right? And now give users this news and food. And with every news item that you give some CTA so that now they can respond back to your bot and they can have an interaction back with your bot, and then you can send them out that promotional content. So I would say we put our brains a little bit together and we could make every one of our bots include one of these aspects so that
Right. Yeah, and then until they enforce it, like you said, or until they enforce that they actually have to sign off on your bot before it can be allowed to publish, that's the first subscriptions, because that's what they say a little bit further up. Right, that bots need to be approved. So again, we'll see what they do with that. But what it does do is at least makes us aware, and also brings back to light that it would not be a bad idea to collect email addresses at the same time as they engage at some point throughout the flow.
Right. Well,
so this way,
you definitely want to create that. You want to get that email address regardless of whether you're going to use it or not. You want to get that. Let's say you never send the guy an email at all. You still want the email address, because just the fact that he gives you that piece of information allows you to assign him a higher value as a lead, right? Because he's already given you something that he values. So you want to collect that regardless. Jesper, I see you got your hand up, buddy. What's up, man? Are you just waving at us? Are you waving at us? You wanna get on the mic and ask a question? You got something going on there?
No, I got my answer earlier about about the booking, venue booking. That was just it.
Okay. I see
the music club.
I see that $10 is really cheap, and you want to at some point, but this point you've used $10 several times for several ManyChat Pro accounts.
Yeah,
Will you
exactly.
be able to access this next year? Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what price it will be next year because at some point I would say that I'm going to have so much content that if I were to give it to you for $10, that would just be really, really stupid, and you would probably assume that it's not as valuable as it actually is because I assign a low price. So that would be doing us both such a disservice.
Yes.
But yeah, you'll be able to access it probably at any time for some price until Facebook bans my bot, and then I'll just build another one and do the same thing. So.
Yeah, great. Very nice.
All right, John, you can send out an email later, right?
What's that?
With the next session. You're going to send out an email later with the next session, right?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Sorry, you can send a message later. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I'll send out a message a little bit later about when the next session is. I think this would be a good time to end this one because I think it's been about 2 hours already. And then, probably in about another hour, I'll do another session and I'll send out a notification probably about 10 minutes before that, guys.
And even though we don't always say that much, I think we learn a lot just by staying online.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I don't have any problem with it. But I do need a few people to actually engage, or the session kind of
of course,
it just kind of stops there. So I do definitely need a few people to actually engage, and then everybody else can kind of just sit there in the background, no problem at all.
Yeah.
So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Then I'm going to go ahead and end this one.